All right, and we are live. So, everybody who's maybe watching or will watch this later, this is Numenera Part 2 Inside the Pyramid, hosted by Chalice and Chains. And I am super excited to be running another one-shot in Numenera, especially with this cast. If you've been able to watch the first episode, you will probably know what to expect, and I'm hoping that we're going to see more of the same and maybe some surprises as well. So, with that, we'll get started. I'm going to let these players, who really need no introduction, introduce themselves. Then we'll do the hook, and we'll get things going. So I'm going to start, actually, from my right. Phil, if you want to start, go ahead and introduce yourself. Plug whatever you want.
Hi, my name is Philip Posey. I run the channel Maps and Dragons, and I'm really looking forward to playing Numenera tonight. Thanks.
Awesome, thanks. And Chris, I'll kick it over to you.
What's going on, y'all? Christopher Carousella here, man. I'm psyched to play some Numenera too. I'm trying to get back in the headspace of this crazy little dude.
Awesome, thanks. And, well, now that we got a different view in the camera, I was going to be like, kick it over to the Clown Prince himself.
Hello, my name is Nelson. I'm with the YouTube channel, a Facebook group, Infinite Roleplay! Yay!
Elmo, ladies and gentlemen, Elmo. And last but not least, Caius.
Hi, I'm Caius. I don't have a YouTube channel to plug, but I've seen the first episode of this game on YouTube, and I thought it was great, and I'm pumped to be joining it.
Awesome. Well, I'm pumped to have you guys all here, so let's get started. So, our three Numenera hunters from the first episode, you guys have returned to the city of Codun, successfully having retrieved the Rukomol for Uolis. He has been extremely grateful and has treated you guys like kings. He has taken you into his home, given you the best of everything. You've been there about a week, and life is good. But for one thing, you guys have had strange dreams ever since leaving the pyramid. Dreams that have been very, very vivid, very telling. They've been bringing back memories from your past, and also really revealing your innermost desires, the things that you want the most. And the three of you have realized that although you didn't necessarily notice it while you were in the pyramid, these dreams and these memories have given you this sense that you realize that there was some sort of presence in that pyramid that you now realize was there the whole time. This sort of omnipresent, non-physical presence, and you're feeling this pull back to the pyramid, as if this presence is calling you back, saying we have unfinished business, and not in a sinister way, but more as in a curious way, as saying, come back, we have more to discover. I need to reveal myself. Although it isn't quite like that. It's very strange. But you guys have been in the town doing your thing, trying as best you can to live life to the fullest and ignore these strange dreams. And in that time, you have met another man of note in the town, the Aeon priest named Navarin. Now, Navarin is someone who he's somewhat shrouded almost in mystery. The townsfolk, while they respect him and they like him because he develops Numenera, he helps these, the town thrive and prosper. He keeps the Rukomol in good shape and stuff like that. He also has, there's rumors anyway, that he has this strange device, this strange Numenera that he's been his whole life trying to reactivate. And when he gets especially drunk, he will tell stories of what he thinks this device will do. And nobody believes him because, of course, he's a crazy old Aeon priest, you know. But he's also a man of integrity and a man of wealth. And so he has asked you guys if you would be willing to return to the pyramid and see if you can locate. Basically, it's a power cell. He needs some sort of device that he can use to power up his Numenera. Having heard of your exploits, he believes that if anybody can do it, you guys could return to the pyramid. He would have done it himself, but yet he's older at this point. He's more feeble, and he couldn't make the trek across the desert. But he also introduces you to a man who's been in his life, who he seems to have a strange relationship with, but yet he trusts him. And his name is Paco. So, Paco, I'll go ahead at this point and let you introduce your character. Tell us kind of who you are and what's brought you here, and we'll go from there.
So, moving back a few days, we come to a sleepy afternoon in the town where most of the people are just resting, taking it easy, but dogs bark, and wandering in from the wilderness comes this dusty figure, and the dogs are barking. One goes out to attack him, but he shoots the dog and comes into the town, and avoiding the general guards and anyone in authority, he makes his way through the back streets and bangs on the door of the temple. Eventually, Priest Nivaran opens the door, and this unwashed, dirty figure goes, "Brother!" and embraces the surprised-looking priest. "It's been such a long time!" And your mother, she's been dying. I've got bad news for you. She is on her deathbed. She sent me with this," and he gives a locket containing the picture of what is definitely the priest's mother, and he says, "It was her last request. She wanted me to find your brother and give you this." And the priest is a little bit surprised because he didn't know he had a younger brother, but the brother explains that the mother and father had another baby after he joined the priesthood, and he's always heard stories about his older brother Nivaran, how he'd made good in the family, and here he is set up in the town of Codun on the edge of the empire, and here he is here comes little brother to visit his older brother and bring him the memories of his mother before she goes. And so a few days later, there he is in the house, feet up on the table, helping himself to the food and enjoying the luxury. He's had a good wash. He looks a lot better, and he's enjoying the hospitality of the priest of this town. And he introduces himself. "This town is full of stories of your great valor and your great expertise. Now, I have something of that. I have something of that myself. As my brother, the priest Nivaran, said, he would be happy to join you exploring the pyramid, but he is old. But look at me, young, healthy, and hale, and ready to join you and add my services."
Excellent. And so, as you guys are sort of in the town, entering, having met this, the supposed brother of the Aeon priest, the beloved Aeon priest, he says to you that time is of the essence, that while he doesn't want to pressure you. He says if you are able to go to the pyramid and return within a week's time with some device that he can use to power up his Numenera, he will show you a time. He will reward you in a way that Uolis never could. And you, as you look around his, it's a fairly modest dwelling, but for the things in it, you can tell that this is a man of extreme wealth, and he seems like he would be fitting in perfectly in Key, in the major city of the Steadfast, in some palatial estate there, and yet he's here. And so I'll leave it up to you guys if there's anything that you want to do in the town right now. If not, then I will fast forward it and we will be at the pyramid.
I can't think of anything that I need to do in town.
Ken just needs to sober up a bit, and he's ready.
Alrighty, excellent.
You see, I was gonna say, yeah, you see Ogden in front of the priest. He takes the toe of his boot, draws a circle into the sand, looks up at him.
Yeah. I'll go to this temple of yours, this pyramid. It's been haunting me, I've been looking for an excuse. I'll take on this request of yours.
And so if you want to fast forward, we can all go.
Okay, great. And I did want to just check really quick. Nuclear, do you presume that you would have repaired your eyes in the week or two that you've been here?
Yeah, I would have used the stuff from the Rukomol leg.
Yep. Okay, fantastic. So you guys depart, and actually at this point the priest Navarin provides you with a device that will allow you to get across the desert a lot faster. You don't have to travel on foot. It almost looks like a cart, like one that would be pulled by a horse or some other sort of beast of burden, and yet it isn't. It moves by itself. There's a control panel with this like sort of stick that you press forward and backwards, and it will steer itself. He says that you have to be careful though, because it's inconsistent, and so he says what I found is, and he kind of opens this this chamber, and he says if it malfunctions, if it runs out of power or whatever, you throw a cipher in there, and the power from that should, and he uses the word reboot it, but I don't anticipate there being any issues. And so you guys travel along, and as you're traveling along, you do not experience any danger, right? You don't experience the raiders that you might have before. Although it would be unlikely that you that you would at this point. They remember quite well the last encounter. And get by a Numenera device. So you enter the town that, the city in shadow, the town underneath this floating pyramid, 80 feet up in the air, and you remember that the last time you entered the pyramid was through one of the 40-foot tall towers in the center. Now, does Og still have the device that created sort of that anti-gravity field, or did he? I know at one point he had thrown it to Ken, but I don't know who ended up with it.
I think Ken had it last.
Yeah, I think Ken would have offered, you know, some of the other, you know, Numeneras and this artifact back to Og, as holding on to so many at once actually was blackening the tips of his fingers permanently.
I see. So you see Ogden, he's on top of this cart that's being pulled across the desert. The wind's just blowing, howling, like grit's getting in his mouth, and in his hand he has this orange orb, and he's spinning it around like David Bowie in the movie Labyrinth.
Awesome. And as you look around the city, you see no sign of that strange woman Lyra, and I would imagine that Nuclear is somewhat saddened by that, as he did not get to have his rendezvous, or she didn't get to have her rendezvous. But you actually don't see signs of life where there were some. The last time you were there was, you know, she was there, but you could sense that there was, if not humans living there, there was something else there. Now it seems there's nothing. And so as you ascend the tower, knowing what to expect, knowing that there will be the automaton above this tower, and I imagine Paco is kind of following along, not exactly knowing what to expect, but having heard the stories, you know, having been regaled by the tales of these Numenera hunters and their you know, their exploits. He understands at least this part, what's going to happen. And so you guys get to the top, and again the automaton is there, and Og activates the Numenera device, and you feel the weightlessness that you felt before as the gravity sort of shifts, and now instead of being pulled down towards the earth, you're being slowly pulled up towards this pyramid, and as you're ascending, you see the doors slide open as did before. You're not being slammed up and down because you are not at the control panel that you were at before. So you have a nice leisurely ascent up there. And as the last of you ascends, you hear the zzz as the doors close again. And as you enter the room, this room that you remember before, this room with the control panels and the tentacles hanging from the ceiling, they are deactivated still. Obviously the bodies of the people that you fought are no longer there. And you remember that the room adjacent to this one, the big empty room where the Rukomol were, it's all still there. And immediately, as the door closes, because I forgot to do it last time, and I believe this is the right way to do it, we're going to get our first GM intrusion. The artifact that Og is holding that brought you into this device actually explodes in your hand, and you actually take 2 points of damage as it kind of blows up in your hand and hurts. And so you get to have 1 XP, unless you wish to say, nope, that's not going to happen. But if you accept it, then you take 1 and you can give it to somebody else.
He has to, I think, spend an XP to say no?
He would, yep. He would have to spend an XP to say no.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the intrusion, and you see the all the license plates on my arm, the old ones, the white and blue ones that say New York and Michigan. They blow off my arm. My hand's on fire, blistered, parts of the bones exposed. Ah!
What the fuck was that?
I will give my other XP to Caius.
with his hand blowing up. Ken is just looking at his hands, looking at the blackened tips of his fingers, just grabbing his chest in relief that he gave the artifact back.
So I fall down on the ground. My knees are trembling, and my hand is smoking like a torch in front of my eyes. My mouth's agape, my eyes are wide.
Excellent. And
As the explosion went off, Paco grabbed his gun and was covering Og with his gun, and until he realised that it was just an explosion. And then he puts his gun away and says, "What the fuck, man?"
And as you say that, almost to sort of punctuate those words, the explosion created this sort of surge of energy within the room, and you see the surge kind of course through this control panel, and lights, these overhead, almost fluorescent lights turn on. And as they turn on, of course, those mechanical tentacle things reactivate. Now, if you remember, you were able to disable them by basically turning them off at the control panel. And so, of course, you still have the ability to do so if you want. But right now, any movement that you guys want to make in this room, anything that you want to do, you have to contend with these tentacle things. So, what would you like to do? And they're not directly attacking you.
Well,
How long?
Ogden's
are these
pulling
tentacles?
out a bit of gauze, he's wrapping his hand, and he's looking at these guys like, "We better figure out something."
Sorry, Nelson, what did you say?
How long are these tentacles? Like, how far down do they reach?
They are probably 15 to 20 feet per tentacle, so they have quite a long reach. It's not a huge ceiling above you. Feasibly, you could make a speed test to try to juke and dodge your way kind of through.
Well,
the
I'm
area.
only asking because I'm planning to stop, drop, and crawl.
So you could do that. They might be able to reach you, but considering that there are 4 other easier targets, that's not a bad idea.
So I do exactly that. I drop down first. First, Ken drops to his knees, puts his hands together almost as if praying and offering worship, and then bowing down almost like a kowtow. He shoots his feet behind him so he's laying flat on the floor, and then just cross inauspiciously away from the tentacles.
Nice. And where are you going? What, are you just kind of trying to get to the door? Or are you trying to get to the control panel?
The control panel.
Okay. Gotcha. And as you're doing that, you start to hear.
As he does that, Nuclear is going to look at the control panel, knowing that he's messed with this thing before, and these tentacles weren't that wicked last time. He's going to shoot his shot and take off running across the fucking room towards the control panel in his gorilla-like fashion as he does.
Awesome. All right. Do go ahead and make a speed test for me. And it's going to be against a difficulty of 3.
And Paco will try to assist him by sort of drawing some of the tentacles towards him by throwing himself onto his back and shooting at them.
Okay, great. So Kais, did you were you able to use the character generator to generate your 3 stats?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So
Speed, might, and intellect. Yep.
yes, yep. So go ahead and make a speed test for me against a difficulty 3. So you just roll the d20, and normal difficulty you would have to have 9 or higher on your dice. If you wish to reduce the difficulty, you can spend a level of effort from your might pool, which would be 3 points from might, and you would knock it down 1 step.
He would actually need to spend it from his speed pool to make the speed defense.
Yep, absolutely, from your speed. Thank you.
So, okay. So, yes. Did you say spend 3 points to lower it 1 level?
Yes, if you want to, which would mean you would basically have to hit a 6 or higher on your dice.
Just really quick.
Go on, I'm up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Caius, you're a jack. I think you're trained in speed defenses, or not trained.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's
and you
right.
have an edge. Do you have an edge in speed defense?
Wait a minute, are you trained in speed defense or speed defense no armor?
I have an edge. I have an edge of speed, and let's have a look. Speed defense is one of my tricks of the trade. I have a trick of the trade, speed defense.
Yeah. So then, all right. So then that would automatically reduce it by 1 tier.
And if you spend effort, instead of spending a total of 3, you would spend a total of 2, because your edge would bring down that total by 1.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I'll do.
Sweet.
So,
all right. So you basically need a 3 or higher on your dice then at this point.
Okay, let's see how I do.
All right.
12.
Great. So so you succeed in your attempt to make things easier for your companion. You basically are firing, up at these tentacles, and it definitely draws their, their attention. And so, Nuclear, that will give you an asset then. So to be able to make it to the control panel, basically without getting hit, you would only need a difficulty of 2. So a 6 on the dice.
All right, sweet. I rolled a 10.
All right, fantastic. So you run over there, and you see the display lit up. You see the picture, those symbols that you saw before, and you kind of vaguely remember that there was at least one symbol that opened the door, and you remember there was a symbol that that turned off the the tentacles in the room. So go ahead and make a intellect test for me. Normally it was a difficulty 6. I'm going to say that in this case it's reduced to 5 because you are somewhat familiar with this device. And of course you can spend effort if you need to.
Rolled a 19.
All right. So you definitely succeed. And your intention was to turn off the tentacles, right?
To hold them up.
Okay.
So that they don't hit Ken as he's crawling across the floor.
Okay. Yeah, and so you do that. You basically sort of, in a sense, they were like all kind of flailing around, and then they sort of go dormant. They sort of power down. And as you're looking at the display, you start to, your mind starts to put together what you're seeing here and recognizing more of these symbols. And you see this one symbol flashing red with this, X through it. And you realize that is a symbol for a door. It looks like it's been damaged or disabled. And in fact, you realize that it's the door that you guys came into. It seems as though that entrance into the pyramid is damaged, and you will have to find an alternate way out of here.
So as Ken's coming up, I look at him distraught. The door, the way out. It's messed up. We're going to have to find another way out, man. I hate to tell you, that sucks, I know.
Oh, you see, this is why you must bow down and respect the Numenera. As as I have, you wouldn't have messed it up.
I dropped to my knees like he did, and I hit the prayer like he did before he started crawling, and I stand back up. Sorry.
It's a bit late for that.
Nice. And as you do that, you sort of enter this bit of a meditative state, and then the nanites in the air around you are kind of buzzing and swirling. And why don't you go ahead and describe, Nuclear, the dreams that you've been having, revealing the thing that you want most, the thing that you believe that you'll find within this pyramid.
I'm walking down a dark corridor. Everything's hazy. The walls on either side, how far the corridor is behind me. It's like it just falls off. All I can hear is the clanging of my arm as it hits the metal beneath me. I come to a solid door and I reach out. The handprint on the side of it that needs clearance to open the door is this awkward shape. My arm automatically molds into this form, something weird like this. And I touch it, and the door slides open. I enter in, and there's this huge screen in front of me, and below the screen there's this huge keyboard with all different kinds of keys and stuff, and then there's this plugs that run off of it. I walk over to it, and it's like my arm automatically knows what to do. It reaches out, it's went back to its regular shape, and it begins typing across the keyboard. Lights light up all over the room. Pictures begin rotating all over. The chords begin wreathing through the air like snakes. They wreath over to me. I hope and start connecting themselves to my arm. I close my eyes, and this information starts downloading into my mind, and I start knowing how to do things that I never even tried to do before, and I always wake up at this point and my blankets are wet.
Nice. So you kind of come back into reality, or into your present, and it's at that point that you start looking at the control panel again, and you realize that there are in fact two doors out of this chamber. That there is one off to the left, the one that you guys had seen the Rukomol in before, presumably a kind of a storage room, something like that, and then straight ahead across the area is is another door that leads into another room. And this you haven't been able to pull up any kind of like map or specs or anything of this, but you realize that there's two doors that are available that you could potentially open.
All right, so other than that, I haven't been able to learn anything else from this besides working the tentacles. I haven't been able to figure anything else out besides these two doors.
That's what you immediately figure out. If you're looking for anything in particular, let me know. But yeah, immediately you have figured out that the door that you guys came in, the main entrance, has been damaged, and that there are two ways out of here. And you've also figured out how to deactivate those tentacles.
I would just be looking for something that would maybe point me to the direction of my dreams. Like maybe there's a big button with a big ass computer on it and a map to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just fishing.
No, that's cool. Absolutely. So as you're sort of swiping your hand over this glass metallic screen, symbols are going by. A lot of them you can't recognize, but one of them you do recognize. It does look like a map, And as you pull up the map, it doesn't actually look like a map of the pyramid itself, but instead it's almost this green line that it's like this green sort of illuminated line that travels in this sort of haphazard pattern, and it's quite large. It kind of outlines this area, and it seems to be something of great importance within this temple. And you realize that the closest sort of physical point to this green line, if you were to sort of translate this, if you were to go through that door straight ahead of you, you would encounter whatever this thing is.
Do we all see the screen that he's looking at?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I would imagine you would have gotten up at this point, no longer needing to crawl.
So,
I would hover over Nuclear, like behind him, checking out what he's doing. And every time he turns to look at me, I sort of switch to behind the other shoulder, and switch behind the other. And I'm looking at the screen and interfering with him just a little bit, touching around, trying to look for anything that looks like a moon or a planet of some sort.
Hey, stop. No.
A moon or a planet or something? Okay. So as you're doing that, you kind of come across this symbol of you almost, it's hard to kind of put into words exactly what it is, but you get the impression that it has something to do with travel, the ability to, whether it is take objects from one location and transport them to another, or some other form of travel. And it does not remind you of that blue mist that brought those biomechanical creatures from. This is something different. You realize that this button would sort of activate whatever this thing is, but you don't necessarily know where it is.
Sam, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Are these tentacles still hanging down from the ceiling?
Yeah, they would be. They're just inactive at this point.
All right. Ogden's going to walk through them like he's walking through beaded curtains. Shh, shh. He looks up top, eyeing it. Spirals up towards the ceiling, right? Does it look like there's a way to disconnect one of these tentacles?
Yeah. Are you wanting to sort of brute force pull it down, or just kind of maybe surgically remove it?
What I would like to do is I would like to climb one.
Yep.
And then see if there's a point of attachment at the ceiling where I could take it off.
Yeah, I would say you could definitely do that. Why don't you go ahead and make a might test for me to be able to climb it? And I would say that's a fairly standard task, so difficulty 2.
All right, I have climbing and I'm trained, so I'll drop that down to a 1.
All right, perfect.
Hey,
All right, here we
Ogden.
go. All right, I got a 16 for my first roll of the night. Wow! I'm climbing it like a champion. One rope in one arm, one rope in the other. I'm just. The people are getting smaller. I get up to the top. I reach into my back pouch. Where's my tools? I pull out a screwdriver.
Awesome. And as you're doing that, I believe, Paco, did you want to say something as he's ascending this?
Oh, it was before he was ascending, but it's all right.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Paco.
Just before you go up, Paco goes and rummages through his belt pouch and pulls on a white ceramic hat and goes and fiddles with some sort of adjustments to it, and this little red cross lights up on the hat, and all sorts of little lights kind of flash across this ceramic hat, and he suddenly looks vaguely medical, and Paco suddenly says, show me your hands before you try climbing. And one of my possessions is I don't know how you say this, an noetic
Yeah, anoretic.
Enhancement, a small shiny ceramic hat that, when worn and activated, I become trained in medicine and healing, and I'm just trying to cure his hands. I
Oh, so
bind his hands and cure his hands so he's got better grip and they hurt less when he climbs.
Okay.
does that allow me to make
It's
a
a
roll
level
for
6.
healing?
What's that, Phil?
Oh my god, you should have saved that.
So you said it's a level.
Sorry.
A level 6.
I don't know.
No,
No, that's
okay.
really good.
Yeah. So. All right. So I have no idea how that works. So what I'm going to do is this. Oh, go ahead.
The effect lasts for 1 hour. It says. I think I'm trained for 1 hour in medicine and healing.
Okay. So
This ceramic hat will light up and direct me for 1 hour.
All right.
Now, Ogden's a little bit taller than Paco, and you can see like the bright light shining in his eyes. So it's like this. You zoom in really close, and you see like a teen wolf when his eyes glows red, and he sees his hands mending. Sorry.
Nice. Yeah. So I'll say then, just for the sake of story. Well, so Paco, go ahead and make an intellect test for me. So roll your dice and your d20 with intellect, and because this is a level 6 cipher, that would mean to necessarily to fully understand how it works, you'd have to potentially hit an 18. Now, you said you have training, or would you'd essentially become trained if you're able to activate this device? It sounds like. So, do you have an edge in intellect?
I think he's trained in esoteries.
In esoteries. Oh, okay. So is that what? So, but this would be a cipher, I would think, right?
That would be a cipher. Esoteries are basically like magical spells, is what an esotery is.
And Caius, are you still here?
So I guess there's also training specifically for ciphers too, then.
Yeah, having a training in the Numenera. That's what nanos get by default. That helps you lower difficulties for finding out how to actually work ciphers and artifacts. Esoteries would be like...
What is that called specifically? Is it down on your sheet?
Numenera.
Numenera.
Trained in the Numenera.
It's just Numenera. Oh, trained in Numenera.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
A cipher is a one-shot Numenera. Artifacts are more than one-shot pieces of Numenera.
Yeah, like magical items.
Yeah. Esoteries are like my ward. I'm trained in ward, so that gives me the +1 armor. Or like nuclear has onslaught.
It looks like
Onslaught is
Caius might
actually
be
an
having
esoteric.
trouble staying in the group.
Yeah.
He's
Looks
having
like
connection
he's still
issues.
All right. Well, then this is what I'm going to do, because I believe that Tricks of the Trade would give him. Let's see. Some of these Tricks of the Trade are technically esoteries using the Numenera, while others are more mundane. What did he... All right, I'm going to say that he's trained in it just for now. I'm just going to roll the dice for him.
Oh, it's back.
Okay, I'm not going to roll the dice for him because now he's back.
That could have been a GM intrusion.
I could, yeah. I might do that. All right, Caius, you back?
Yep. Sorry about that.
No,
Let's
that's
give
okay.
us a roll.
Yep, if you can give us a roll of the d20. And are you trained in Numenera? Do you know? Is that on your sheet?
No, nothing on my sheet about that. No.
Okay. So, all right. So you rolled a 12. You would have needed an 18. All right. I am going to actually use a GM intrusion at this point as well. So, guys, if you want, I'm going to give you. Actually, I don't think you have any XP. So, you will gain.
I gave him 1.
Oh, you did. Oh, that's right. Yep.
I gave him 1 XP.
That's true. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to propose a GM intrusion here that you attempt to use this device, but because you haven't used it successfully in the past, it's not going to work as intended. And so if you want, you can accept 1 XP and give the other one to whoever else you choose, and what will end up happening is instead of this actually healing, what it's going to do is it's going to actually sort of charge the tentacle, and the tentacle is going to sort of start flailing a little bit and make it a little more difficult. Although, Phil, I'm going to say even in that case, you'll still be up at the top, but it might be difficult to disconnect it at this point. So would you like to accept that GM intrusion?
I missed the option.
So if you want, so Phil gave you a XP point. So if you wish to avoid that GM intrusion, you would pay me that XP point. Otherwise, you would gain a point of experience, and you would also have one that you could give to another one of the party here, but you would have to accept that complication.
Okay, I'll accept the complication, and Ken can have a point of experience.
All right, excellent.
Nice.
So the device, the hat, sort of doesn't work as intended, and like I said, it blasts this energy out of it. But instead of healing Og's hands, it in fact goes bzzz and charges up the tentacle, and it starts flailing. And Og, you manage to still kind of climb up to the top, even though this thing is flailing around. But as you're trying to, grab in your pack for some tools, trying to figure out how you could sort of disconnect this thing, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. So if you wish to, so if you want to, you certainly can. At this point, though, it's going to be a difficulty of 4 instead of its normal 3 to disconnect it.
Okay. So the original idea was to just disconnect it with a tool, but here I am trained in breaking inanimate objects. So I've shifted from the subtle tool into the direct approach.
All right.
So I'm going to drop it by 1.
Okay.
If it is an inanimate object.
Yeah, it's
I'm not trying to break the one
around, but yeah, it would be inanimate up at the top. So yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. So
so it was
got to be a 9.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Oh, shit! I got an 8.
Oh, so you start, and how would you imagine you were trying to break it? What were you using?
I think I'd be using my hurt hand.
Okay. Trying to maybe rip the thing right out of the wall. And as you do so,
maybe what happens is I grab onto one, and then the wire starts whipping around, and I lose control, and I'm suspended from the ceiling. One arm holding on to one of the ropes that's whipping, the other arm just holding on to the ceiling, and it looks like I might drop.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, and so you're hanging out there, trying to do this thing. Guys, you realizing that you were somewhat unsuccessful and kind of complicated matters a little bit, and looking around and seeing the two nanos over at the control panel trying to kind of figure out what's going on. What would you like to do at this point?
I was like, God damn it, Nick, what are you doing?
We're in trouble.
Can I help him at all? I look up frantically and start like, hold on! I look back behind me
I'll
again.
try and climb. I'll try swinging one of the other tentacles so he can sort of grab hold of that with his other arm.
All right, sure.
I just start yelling, Gearhead, push the button. Not the other button. The one you did. No, the button. No.
Does he reactivate them?
I don't know. So right now, you see this other tentacle kind of flying towards you, kind of like, not in a way that's going to knock you off here, but like, oh look, it's another rope. But yeah, what? And you got Ken screaming at Nuclear, push the button, push the button, push the button. So Nuclear, what do you do at this point?
I do what Nuclear does. I press the button. And I'll press it. I don't know which one I press, but I'll press the button.
Yeah.
But I think I would press buttons that I've already, I've played with these tentacles before, of course.
Yeah, I think it's feasible that you would be able to sort of, again, deactivate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's fine.
I was with them last time, I think. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so all of us, you push the button again, and you hear this. You also hear where you had been hearing that that has gone away at this point. And so, yeah, so all of a sudden, the sort of bucking and jerking tentacle now comes to a stop. It just goes.
Beads of sweat are rolling down my torso, dropping like rain on the floor. I grab one like a fire pole, and I just down. God damn it! God damn it! And I smack the thing. And go swinging like a pendulum.
You're right forward.
Fine. It's just I'm not having a good day. I look at my hand. It's dripping blood.
Awesome.
Staring at your head for a moment, mesmerized, horrified, and then staring at his own hands. Again, the tips of his fingers black, and he's like, oh, breathes a sigh of relief that he had given you back the device.
I walk over to Nuclear. I slap him on the back. I grab his shoulder. I look at him. Did you figure out where we need to go?
Yeah, this the entrance in, the door is broke. We're gonna have to find another way out. But this door here, and I point with my mechanical arm down the direction which I was pulled towards, that will take us deeper into the pyramid and perhaps a way out. The door over there is where the Rukomol were.
Now, the door that he's indicating that we should go through, is this the same door that we saw the man escape through?
Yes.
So that whole imagery enters into my mind again. Stabbing the woman in the neck, decapitating the man, the blood's still on the floor. And I see some of the bloody footprints leading to that door anyway. And I say, well, I guess our path is decided.
Awesome. And as you're sort of reliving that image, why don't you go ahead and share, sort of that kind of kicks you into that state where you're sort of remembering these dreams, and go ahead and describe maybe what that dream was that you had.
Sure, no problem. I've had this dream every single night since we've left. I'm at the same bar. I'm at the same counter. In my hand is a gold coin, and it's spinning. The coin spins across the surface of the bar, and it's a black bar. But then the coin stops. A woman's hand grabs onto it. I look up. She has long blonde hair, blue eyes, and a real charming smile. She takes the coin and she flicks it back to me. And then as I watch the coin spin, I see the image of the sun appear. and I'm standing in the desert. The desert's blue. These huge pillars of black just reach up into the sky like they're arms of a titan. And that's when I see the pyramid come down, like some kind of pupil into the eye of the sun. The image of the pyramid gets larger and larger. Inside the pyramid, I see the face of the woman. And I'm back at the bar, and she's smiling at me. I go to say her name. It's on the tip of my tongue. That's when I wake up. I don't know who she is, but I recognize her. There's something important. That's it. That's my dream.
Cool. Thanks. And Nuclear, you realize that he said just, before he kind of had this dazed look on his face, I guess our path is decided for us, but there was something really strange about it. It was almost as if he was like delayed, like if you were playing, a game over Google Hangouts and you had a bad connection, that kind of thing. Like something just seemed off about it, like there was a delay. But
Yeah.
There was lag.
Yeah, he said that. Now, I'm not saying there was lag. I was just using that as an example.
I kind of noticed this when he noticed the bloody footprints from before and remembered all the things he had done. I kind of pictured like this sadistic grin spread across his face as he was remembering this stuff, and Nuclear just sitting there like witnessing it. So.
Nice. And Ken, you would kind of notice this stutter, almost like this glitch. It seems unnatural as well, but then he quickly, is himself again, and everything seems back to normal.
Quickly himself, who is not all that natural.
Nice. So, what would you guys like to do at this point? You know which way to go. The door. You haven't opened the door yet. If you wish to do so, you certainly can. It's easy. You just hit the button.
I look over at Paco and I say, "I like your lights." And then my eye lights up and starts moving around, looking them up and down.
Hey, I won it in a carnival.
What's that?
What? I won the hat in a carnival.
Oh.
I picked up 6 ducks and I got this hat.
God damn. So, gentlemen, I look down this door. Shall we? You first. I step back, looking up at Ken. And I drop to my knees and I hit the little prayer that he did earlier.
With Nuclear offering up, prayers, bowing before the Numenera, Ken goes to the door and he starts examining the door, like on the frame of the door, running his blackened fingertips across, almost like if he's investigating this door, as if there was some sort of secret behind it, looking for any circular patterns or anything that would look like a heavenly body. And if he doesn't find anything of that sort, he'll just commence to press whatever button or key or simply push the door open.
Yeah, you don't actually see any kind of symbol or anything on the door. There is a keypad next to the door. You don't know the code, but you know that on the central control panel that you guys have been accessing, there was a button that would potentially open that door for you. So you have no problem opening the door, and it kind of slides into the side, illuminated by this sort of fluorescent light from the ceiling, similar to what you're in now. As you guys enter the room, you notice that it's mostly just a lot of debris. In fact, even in the room that you were in before, everything is sort of breaking down at this point, right? Everything is kind of, age and time is getting the better of it. But you see this, what kind of draws your eye is this sort of cylindrical automaton, and it has these 7 spindly limbs, and it's struggling, wrapped like in these cables and these wires, sort of half buried in debris. It doesn't seem to be dangerous per se, just this weird creature, but it's kind of the one thing that stands out in this room.
Hey,
I
Gearhead,
pull out
look,
my
it's your
sword.
cousin.
It's 4 feet long and gleams in this fucking fluorescent light. Shing!
Ford, wait, Ford. It may be related to Gearhead. And I turn and look at Nuclear.
I creep forward towards it, wondering what it is.
Watch yourself, Nuclear. You don't know what it is.
I look behind him like, I know.
And I mean, it's definitely like, an automaton. It doesn't seem like it would be used for any kind of combat purposes. It doesn't seem like it really have much of any practical application, to be honest. But it's all stuck in these wires and debris.
Last time we ran into one of these, we fucking floated off the ground. I don't trust it. I don't trust it.
I look down at my hand and I squeeze it. Blood drips out.
God damn it.
Nuclear, remembering leaving the ground from the air thing, runs a little bit forward, thinking that he was lifted off the ground from it. And then he looks back towards the machine. Does this mimic my dream?
Yeah, it does actually.
Yeah, that's what so I realizing as though it's not in the shape that it was in my dream, I walk over towards it. Everybody else in the room at this point is kind of a haze behind me, and my arm reaches out, the mechanical one, towards it. I look at the keyboard and the wires hanging down, and I blow, and dust flies off of it. A spider crawls up in its web, and I look at a button, and I'm tempted to push it, but I'm going to make a Numenera check first to see if it's active, if it's alive, if it's even got any juice in it. Whatever I can, it'll be some type of information.
Yeah, and so you're trained, right, in Numenera?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, this is really, really easy. This would be a 1 difficulty, so you just have to hit a 3.
Dice don't fail me now. Man. All right. So I swear I rolled a 16, dude. Like my dice.
Nice.
Black Arrow's treating me good tonight. He'll fuck me
Nice.
tomorrow though. But
Yeah, and so this device, the thing that it's entangled in, this machine that it's entangled in, doesn't seem like it could be reactivated, but this little automaton itself is definitely active. Seems to have an internal power source of some kind. And it looks like it's literally just, it can't get out because like some of its limbs are like wrapped up in in these wires and these cables and stuff like that.
so I creep over towards it and see if I can get it out of the wires and stuff.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty it's stuck in there pretty good. So what I would have you do is make a might test for me, and the standard difficulty, it's fairly difficult, so it'd be a 4. So you'll want to hit a 12 unless you want to use some effort.
Yeah, I use some effort.
Okay, so knock it down to a 3.
All right. I rolled a 1.
Yeah.
Motherfucking Black
Good.
Arrow.
Awesome. Okay. So as you kind of start pulling this thing out, you actually, you kind of at one point get a little bit frustrated, and you sever one of its limbs, and the limb starts to like spark a little bit, and it actually sends this little spark jolt through the wires, and that sort of keyboard console thing that you had seen before, for a minute lights up as like this light beneath it, and then goes pop, 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 psh, and sparks, and you kind of get these sparks up into your face, and you actually take 2 points of damage to your might pool as this kind of thing goes, psh, and then, but you have extracted this thing, and it falls to the ground for a minute. Its 6 remaining appendages kind of twitching, as it's like on its back, trying to flip itself back over.
So as it explodes into my face, I scream, "Ah!" And I start running across the ground, dragging this thing, and it's raising up behind me. Turn around and look at it, crouch down in my fighting position, wondering what to expect from it, looking at the other party.
Yeah, as soon as the sparks went off, my sword went high like a guillotine.
Nice.
Paco,
What is it?
Sorry, go ahead.
Paco, who had lit up a little cigar whilst this was going on, when he sees Nuclear get burnt, he immediately stubs out, drops his cigar and stands on it, and flicks down his ceramic hat, which is still glowing, and says, "Aha!" and approaches, ready to fix Nuclear.
What'd you say it was, Sam? A Animatron?
Yeah, it was this almost spider-like automaton, but it's little. It's it's this teeny little thing, almost would be like a kid's toy.
It's an automaton, some type of mechanical thing. He says, questioning himself almost, wondering, because really, who the fuck knows in the Numenera? So he looks at it and begins approaching it, spider-like himself, crouched down on all fours, crawling towards it. He's careful not to get burned again. And
Ken starts following Nuclear behind him again, sort of peering over, getting a view over one shoulder and then peering over the next.
Nice. And as this is happening, you all of a sudden feel something strange. You feel this presence enter your mind, and it doesn't seem hostile. In fact, it seems welcoming. It seems comforting, and you hear this voice inside your head saying, "Boy, that burn on your hand, that must hurt. I know of a place that within the pyramid there's a medical station that could probably heal that." And then go ahead. And it waits for your reaction to see what you do, what you say.
Ogden takes a sword and looks at it, looks at his face like he's looking inside of a looking glass. Ford F-150 running up and down it.
I think I'm losing my mind.
He whispers under his breath.
And as you say that, the voice in your head says, "I assure you, you're not losing your mind. And then it hesitates for a minute, and it says, "I am part of this place, part of this presence. I don't know how to translate into words that you could understand exactly what I am, but I mean you no harm. In fact, I believe I can help you."
I draw the sword closer, and my face magnifies, grows long, like it's in a fun house. How can you help me?
And it says, I can do a great many things. What is it that you want? What is it that you are here for? Perhaps I can help you find it. And it doesn't seem sinister. It seems very genuine, like it really does want to help you.
What's that?
It basically asked you, what is it that you're here for? What is it that you want? It genuinely sounds like it wants to help you.
Ah. Well, I tell it about the priest, and I tell it about the object that he's looking for.
And you sense this almost an emotion. Although that doesn't seem right, because this thing, it's a voice, but it feels alien. It feels strange. But you would almost think of this as excitement. And so it says, oh yes, there's plenty of that here. I could certainly help you with that. But unfortunately, and this emotion almost comes across almost as shame. I did something rather foolish. I got myself trapped. I don't have a physical body like you do, but I seem to have gotten myself sucked into this ventilation system, this pipe system. And as that happens, almost as if you couldn't control it, your eyes kind of go up and you actually see, ringing the room, there are these pipes, these translucent pipes with this sort of almost opaque mist flowing through them. They look just like, almost like a power conduit or something like that. And on it brings your attention to this sort of valve system, and it says, if you were able to get me out, I could direct you first to the medical bay to help heal your hands, and then I could help guide you past some of the dangers of this pyramid.
So you see a conflicted face on Ogden's mug. He's biting his lip, and he has his eyebrows raised. He's staring at the sword, whispering to it, but he's actually talking to the voice in his head, like some kind of crazed madman. The sword itself is fogging up.
I don't trust you. I'm not going to help you. And if you've been imprisoned here, it's probably for a good reason.
And as you say that, you don't sense any sort of ill intent. You don't sense any malice. You just sort of sense, disappointment, but not anything hostile. And it says, I understand. Of course you wouldn't trust me. You're new to this place. I just to be clear, I wasn't imprisoned here. I was foolish and got myself trapped. You see, what happens is when you open that valve, it sucks in the air, and I didn't know that, and being that I don't have a corporeal form per se, it sucked me in. But I understand. If you don't trust me, then of course that makes sense. But why don't I do this to hopefully earn your trust? Let me direct you to the medical bay. It's actually just through, if you head through the room directly ahead of you, and you do notice that there's a door there, and then there will be a room beyond that one off to your left. There will be a medical facility in there, and I'm sure it will work just fine.
I go to the door. I open it.
Okay. And we're going to cut over to Nuclear at this point. Nuclear, as you're kind of crawling over, trying to look at this device, this little automaton that's on it's on its back, basically. It would be like if a spider, or no, not a spider. It would almost be like if a turtle was flipped onto its shell and it's trying to flip itself over. One of its appendages kind of broken and sparking a little bit, and you sort of approach it, and out of the corner of your eye, you notice this glint of something. And as you look over into the debris that you just extricated this device from, you see this basically it's a miniature pyramid, black, like almost obsidian black, just sitting kind of tucked in underneath, all of this debris.
So I'm creeping over towards this turtle-like figure on his back, this automaton, and no, don't worry, friend, I got you. I say, and I chuckle to myself, thinking that this thing is some type of awesome. And I look up at the computer and all the dust and stuff, and I'm saddened. But then I catch a glimpse of this pyramid, this almost onyx-like pyramid, hiding in the rubble of these wires and debris, and like I'm reaching towards this turtle, like, don't worry, I'll help you, friend. And then I notice this pyramid, and my robotic arm just stops, and I'm like, push it out of the way. Then, in a minute, I say, and I creep over towards this pyramid-like figure, to see what it is.
Yeah, and it's literally just this maybe 6-inch high little metallic black pyramid. It's definitely emanating with some sort of energy, but that's about all you can tell.
All right, so I don't know if it's like a cipher or a oddity, artifact, anything like that.
At this point, you can safely assume that this device was very deliberately crafted, and the fact that it looks exactly like it's a miniature version of the pyramid that you guys are in would lead you to believe that it has some special function.
Right. That's what I was thinking. So thinking this, I kind of like, kind of shudder with joy. And like, I look behind me to make sure Ken's not looking, and I like stuff it quickly in my shirt pocket.
And as soon as your hand touches it, you feel this presence sort of in your mind, and it's almost like this awakening kind of in your mind, and almost like it's melding with you. But again, it feels very peaceful. It feels very almost curious, and it's this voice, this sort of sweet melodic voice. You can't tell whether it's male or female. It doesn't sound either, but it kind of says to you, "You're a man who seeks answers, are you not?"
So Nuclear like looks around, wondering where this sound came from in his head. He almost starts to run a little bit, catching himself before he realizes that it may be the pyramid. And he you could say that, yeah.
All right, and you say that out loud, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's cool.
Nuclear would do.
Yeah. And so the voice in your head kind of says, the answers that you seek can be found beyond these doors, but there are dangers here as well. I also came here seeking answers, but I was foolish and got myself trapped in, well, in the power conduit, and you can sense this sort of this shame, this sort of like embarrassment, like how could this happen to me? And your eyes kind of go up to this valve, and this piping, this translucent piping with this sort of opaque sort of gas that you can see traveling through it, and it says, I don't have a physical form, but if you were able to help me to get me out of here, I could direct you to the answers that you seek. And it seems very genuine. It seems very much like it wants your help. It says, but unfortunately, I would need for someone to open the valve and let me out, and I'm afraid that with your metallic arm, it could cause damage. It could cause some unintended consequence. Perhaps, if you're willing, would you convince one of your friends to open that? I'm sure that I can help you.
Okay. So he turns his head and looks at his buddy Taco, who's sitting there with his lights flashing. His buddy Ken, who's standing there. I picture him in complete serenity at this moment. And Ogman, who's creeping towards this door. And he's like, hey, guys, one of you open that valve. And let's see what happens.
I turn around like some kind of predatorial creature, like with preternatural speed. I draw out my knife. There's like corroded black ooze on it from where the poison went into the woman's neck. And I say,
You fucking open that valve, we'll have a fucking problem.
I like slink away. Okay. I wasn't going to open it. He was going to open it. I point towards them. And then I think back into my brain, but I say out loud, I don't think the valve's going to get open for you. I'm sorry.
And
Wait, how far away is this valve?
it's not very far. I mean, so this room might be, it's somewhat of a small room. It might be, 20 or 30 feet square. And it's on the wall, kind of on the far wall. It basically is like this piping, and it has this valve system on it. So.
now, just to be clear, you said last time when I was talking to it that it sucked all the air out of the room, right?
No, it didn't suck all the air out of the room. The sort of the image that you got.
That's
in
not
your
what you
head,
said?
No, well, I didn't mean to interpret it that it would suck all the air out of the room. What it did was it had a little bit of suction. It goes, and it sucked this sort of incorporeal figure into the piping.
Okay, that was that's two different things.
Yeah, sorry, I may have
Because I'm
not
like,
clear.
you
So,
can't breathe. What the fuck are you gonna do?
No, it doesn't suck all the air out of the room.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm still going to the door. I'm gonna open it and see if it's actually a medical center. If we can trust this voice. I haven't relayed that information to the other people that I've heard it talking about. So.
Right. Okay. Before we do that, do you guys feel like taking maybe like a 5-minute break?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Yeah. Cool. Let's do that. We'll come back in 5. Why does nobody trust my NPC?
It's because no one ever trusts any NPC.
No, it's true.
They only trust them to be bad.
Yeah. I know, it's so sad. You know what it is?
You have to offer a reward, or say, I'm going to kill your ass,
Yep.
and then they'll trust what they're saying.
Oh, yeah. Don't you worry.
Worry not, young adventurers.
Yeah.
I'm back, but I'm going to keep my camera and mic off so you don't hear me eat.
No problem. Caius, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Cool. So I think mechanically, and you'll have to forgive me. This is literally my second time doing Numenera. But I believe that if you have a level 6 cipher, that would mean normally that you would have to make a difficulty 6
Got you.
unmodified intellect roll to be able to sort of activate it and use it as intended.
Yep, got you.
Um,
So my ciphers are beyond my power to use.
Well, if really, a 6 is doable. A 6, you'd have to roll an 18 on the die. Now, I know as a Jack you get 1 flex skill. Would you have taken Numenera, training in Numenera, as your flex skill? And you can say yes if you want to.
I haven't. Let me just see if I've chosen a flex.
Okay. And if not, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
And whether or not you did, for future reference, flex
Yep.
skill, your flex skill can change on a day-to-day basis.
Uh-huh. So I could take Numenera.
Yeah, and I would say that that's fine to do that if you want to. What that would effectively do would mean that it would reduce that difficulty level from 6 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that you'd have to roll a 15. And then, of course, you have the ability to spend effort as well to reduce it even further. Now, you should have an edge in one of your... Do you have an edge in 2 as a Jack, or in just one of your abilities?
Just one.
Okay, which one did you choose?
I chose speed.
Speed. Okay, gotcha. So you would, if you were to use effort in anything other than speed, it would require you to spend 3 points from your pool.
Mm-hmm. So flex skill, yes. Flex skill isn't named. So to be yes. I've got Numenera then.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent.
So that's 3 of us with Numenera.
I mean, that's not a bad skill to have, all things considered.
No, it's definitely not when you're in the fucking Numenera, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and you guys are in the heart of it, like all this, advanced technology and all that. So.
I know. I want my little automaton. Automaticon.
I say automaton, but I'm not sure.
Automaton.
Automaton. Yeah, who knows?
The longer the better.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it? It's an automaton.
Yeah, that's the one crazy thing about this game. Like, I have to say freaking weird words like, Rukomol. I'm like, what the hell?
I know, every time I gotta look and see where I wrote it down. I'm like, what the fuck was that thing named?
Yo.
Oh yeah, Rukomol.
Nice.
Yeah, it's different than just electricity hits you.
Yeah. It's weird too. It's hard for me to sort of use the right words necessarily, because I sort of get the feeling in the Ninth World that you kind of would know what some of this stuff is, even if you don't necessarily know what it's named or called. So sometimes it's easier to say, yeah, you get blasted by electricity, even though you might feel like, oh shit, I just, something hit me with lightning. It's magic. But yeah.
Hey, it's magic.
Nice. So I don't know if Cozy is back yet or not, but Nelson, we can actually do your dream sequence because as soon as as soon as Nuclear basically does what he does and says what he says, you look at this device, in this pyramid device in his hand, and you start thinking about your dream and all that, and so
I start reflecting internally, and then finally when he's asking about the valve, and he points to the valve, I see his finger. I follow his massive mechanical finger towards the valve, and it seems to line up perfectly. And in the valve, there seems to be smoke starting to come out the valve and filling the room in my mind, and as I'm falling back into my dream, you would see Ken as he is now, except shirtless, lying comfortable on a large couch, surrounded by beautiful females pawing at him. They seem to be laughing and talking, smoking from some sort of device. And your view would slowly pan out. They're talking, their voices and laughter obscured, almost as if you're trying to listen to them through a speaker while underwater. The view continues panning out, and there's a disembodied voice. You begin hearing. It's old and wizened. It's like pointing a finger to the moon. Don't focus on the finger. And the view keeps pulling out. You see the window to the brothel. Don't! Kiritsume! And you would hear the smack from Ken's master as it lands on the back of his head. And you notice the younger version of Ken rubbing the back of his head in pain and looking down at the floor in shame. I told you! It's like Ken, look at me! Look at me when I speak to you, boy! And Ken begins looking up, and as he's looking up, his master's voice seems to change. And you would hear, do what feels good, as Ford's voice invades his dreams, and Ken snaps back, pointing, and he starts pointing at the gear and looking at it. And seeing that it's kind of shaped like the moon or a planetoid, he walks towards it. It's Mr. Heavenly Mud, and grabs the actual valve and starts to try to turn it.
All right. So, Og, what do you do as you see Ken stepping towards this valve, trying to open it?
Sure, no problem. You see Augie. You see his boot kick the door behind him. It cracks open. He jumps behind it and closes it.
Awesome. Oh man, look at that. We split the party. Yes. No. Just kidding. So yeah, so that's fine. And so Ken, as you go to sort of open the valve, you get this voice in your head, very pleasant, very calm voice saying, "Ah, the traveler, the wanderer. I sense that you seek knowledge. Well, you've come to the right place, but you must be very, very careful. I can help you here, of course, but you must be very careful and precise in how you open this valve." And she kind of, or it almost feels like a female voice, or at least that's the way you interpret it, Ken. And she sort of gives you these sort of step-by-step instructions for how to, open this valve just right. And it's a combination of, typing these keys and kind of turning the little valve wheel and all that. And as you do that, you you kind of hear this hiss, right, as the pressure sort of releases, and out comes this sort of opaque, almost looks like a tentacle kind of, of this gas, of this, this sort of mist. And then you kind of have this laughter in your head for a minute, and this does not sound nice. And this thing, all of a sudden, you see like this mist just kind of fly right towards your eye. And so I need you to go ahead and make a speed defense for me. Now, this speed test normally would be at a difficulty of 5. So,
being that this is mist, I'm assuming it kind of looks like the smoke in the brothel and the knob, like the moon, the finger of nuclear pointing to the moon, and no, this time I will not do what feels good. I will not miss all of that heavenly glory. I drop to my knees in a position of prayer and worship before this mist. So I'm not trying to get out of the way of it.
What the fuck?
oh my god! All right, sweet. So yeah, you're gonna get hurt here. So what happens is, just as this mist is coming towards your eye, it almost materializes, and it seems like it's a physical thing, and then it dematerializes, and you can feel this pressure behind your eye, and your head explodes in pain as your eye pops out and is consumed by this creature. Now, this also knocks you one step down on the damage track. And I need you to make another speed defense, or I need you to make a speed defense test for me if you want to. You can keep praying if you want to.
Nuclear fucking screaming.
Well, if grabbing at my face and pulling at the socket left where my eye once was, I'm assuming that it exploded, the blood went everywhere, the shades flew off as that eye flew out. If you would think grabbing at my eye and screaming like a little child in pain would constitute that speed defense, then yes, I will roll it.
You go right ahead. Again, it's at a difficulty of 5, so 15 on the dice.
God.
So
Let's do this as well. Nope, I got an 11.
okay, same thing happens.
Wow.
The second time, knocking you another step down the damage track.
Both my eyes are missing.
Yes, both of your eyes are missing at this point.
So,
Holy shit.
I'm screaming almost incoherently. Anybody that would hear like spurts of "Master!" in his incoherent screams of pain, and it's like, I didn't need to, I missed it, I can't, no,
Yeah. And so
I scream through the door to hit the button again to suck in the creature.
Oh yeah.
Stuff the fucking triangle down my shirt. I run over to the automaton, and the fucking turtle thing. I pick it up. I'm looking at Ken because he's blind. I'm like, Nuclear's freaked out.
Yeah. And you actually see the mist at this point sort of suck back as Ken falls to the floor, and just mechanically, Ken, you are debilitated at this point, meaning that you may not take any actions other than to move, probably crawl, no more than a median distance. Your speed pool, so you took a total of 10 damage from those 2 attacks.
I
So
took damage or moved down the damage track because you can.
oh no,
you can
no,
be,
sorry, you did not take
Yeah.
10 damage. You moved down the damage track. My apologies.
Yeah, you can be shifted irregardless. However, if I do move down the damage track one more step, I'm done.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. No. So I'm sorry. Yeah, you did not take damage from that in the traditional sense, and that's the weird part about Numenera. But yeah, so you are basically there. You guys at this point, everybody really, in your head, you can sense this voice again, and the voice, even though, with the exception of Og, although he knows something happened because he heard screaming from the other room, he doesn't know exactly what happened. It's saying, now I have the power, the energy to do what I need to do. But don't fear. I didn't want to have to do that, but it's the only thing that sustains me. Please, there is a medical
take
bay.
over your body.
There is a medical bay. I can lead you to it. It can potentially help your friend.
Now, fuck
Just-
that.
Kill it.
Nuclear, reaches into his pack. He runs over to
I can't hear you.
Yeah, Chris, I can't hear you either. I don't know if the mic is not picking it up
Is
or
there a
what.
problem with your mic?
Yo,
There we go.
There you go.
Nuclear, he drops the fucking turtle onto the ground. He kicks it across the room and flies across the floor like Mario. And he runs over towards Ken, whose fucking eyes are bleeding out. He reaches into his pack and grabs a cloth. He looks over to Paco Sanchez, and he's like, "Come on!"
Paco's
Okay.
taking off. Paco's
Like,
taking off his hat
man!
as like a frisbee. Paco throws his hat across the room to Nuclear, and at the same time he starts drawing his gun and trying to keep his gun focused on the bit of mist, and he'll just shoot at the mist.
I thought the mist
when
entered
it's
into
not
his body.
when it's
Is
not
the
next
mist?
to a human.
So
Has the mist come out of the body, or
it has come out of the body. Yep. At this point, so it kind of entered in to suck the eyes out, and then it's come out.
It is out of the body with 2 brand new eyes.
No, the eyes were consumed. You saw the eyes basically destroyed and dematerialized.
I did not see that happen.
You did not see that happen. Now, fortunately, you have a companion who knows how to make synthetic eyes, so that's, or at least has them, so that's an advantage. Paco, what is your gun? What does it actually fire? Is it a projectile?
It's like a buzzsaw, right?
it's a mine would be actually something like a blaster,
No.
if that's all right. I mean, I don't have the rule book, so tell me something then. You give me
Oh,
one.
it shoots buzzsaws. That's the
Yeah,
only type of guns that they have.
yeah, I
Okay,
think it shoots.
buzzsaw.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. And it's exactly. It's some kind of little miniature blade or something that it shoots out.
Okay.
So yeah, you fire at this thing. I'm not going to make you roll because it's incorporeal, so your shot has no effect on it. But it almost, I would imagine it was almost more of just a reaction. Like you didn't even necessarily think. You're just like
Yeah.
at this this threat. But as it does that,
The only thing
go ahead.
I was
I'm
only
trying to
shooting
scream through the
when
door.
It wasn't next to one of the other humans.
Well, I yelled out
Apart from
augment.
that, go on.
Sorry.
I'm trying to scream to the door for them to hit the button again to suck the creature back up.
After he's kicking around in the floor in pain, and Nuclear is trying to do what he does with him, and and he's just screaming out incoherently, "No, Master, I didn't want to do what feels good." No! And he's trying to actually, like, still in pain. He's trying to, like, he's turning about, not knowing where he's turning, but ultimately trying to go back into a kowtow position.
Nice. And actually, as you do that, in your head, you feel that presence again, and it says to you, I'm very sorry that I had to do this to you. I didn't want to, but it's the only way I can sustain myself. But I know what it is that you want. I can help you find it. I just need a little bit more power. Can you help me? I need, and he kind of is, or it's kind of intimating for you to get your friend with the funny hat to come over to you. Maybe he can heal you.
He wants to eat his eyes too.
Verbally,
I actually
audibly,
threw the.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you did throw the hat. That's right.
Audibly, he would still be sort of incoherent and yelling out in pain and stuff. His body trembling at the sheer amount of pain that he just went through twice. But in his mind, his vision, his dream, keeps replaying in his head. Don't focus on the finger, and he's getting images in his head about his fingers being blackened. And then he hears Ogden's voice when Ogden was doing all the murdering and whatnot, saying, "Do what you like, do what feels good." And just cycling through his head, and then his master's voice saying, "You will miss all the heavenly glory," and it just plays over and over in his head. And these images are cycling over. If this thing can actually see into his mind, that's what it would be seeing. But audibly, he's just continuing to scream, in pain and shooting out nonsense, and his body is just trembling as he's trying to go into a kowtow position. Whether or not Nuclear is letting him is entirely up to Nuclear.
At this point, Nuclear is knowing he's got to get Ogman into the room somehow. So with Ken gone, he's blind. He whispers into Ken's ear, "You'll become the blind fighter. Hold on, brother." And he drops to his knees and he hits the little prayer. He begins to move towards the button to open up the door for Ogman. And I'm picturing this turtle hitting like a wall and flying in another direction. And the fucking pyramid in my pocket's like glowing, and it's like almost like a heartbeat against my chest as I move towards this button to open up the door to let Ogman in. Not even worried about this fucking Steam thing.
Okay.
Paco is shouting, "Pick up the hat! Pick up the hat!"
Oh, the fucking hat.
Sam, what's in this room that I'm in?
So this room that you were in, and so the description that you got was that you'd have to go through this room and then to your left into another room, and that's where the medical device would be. But in this room in particular, you have projecting from the walls a set of sort of spindly mechanisms. They pulse with these jolts of energy, that arc from one spindle to the next. They stop and start again sort of intermittently. It's this sort of weird device on the wall, Everything else seems to be sort of just crumbling and decaying all around you, but there's definitely a strange device in here.
I immediately go to it. I want to see if I can activate it.
Okay, absolutely. Now, this thing is well beyond sort of what you would normally be able to comprehend, but you realize that you might be able to sort of figure out or activate this device by kind of removing one of those spindles, but they're arcing with electricity, so it would be a level 6 task normally to accomplish that.
Yeah, I'm just... Is this an inanimate object?
Yes.
I'm going to break it. I'm going to drop the level by 1.
Okay.
Okay. So you see these arcing lights. It's like a thunderstorm right in front of his face. He pulls back his fist like a sledgehammer. 16.
Oh, wow. Nice. You are so lucky. Yeah, and so you manage to break it, and you see the things arc from it, and then they kind of dissipate. And as you kind of search through this thing, you notice that there's this device that's something that almost looks like it would be like a bracelet or something that you could put on your wrist. You're not quite sure what it is, but it looked like it was.
I grabbed the bracelet. I put it on my wrist.
You do, okay. You feel it latch on, like clamp onto your wrist, and then you feel this pain, and you start to feel almost like this burning. It actually inflicts 4 points of damage as you see it grafting onto your skin.
Awesome. I stand there like a man transfixed, my hand reaching up to the sky.
You're like, ah. Nice. Yeah, so you're doing that, hearing the yells and the pleas of your companions in the other room. And Paco, you've thrown this hat across the room at this point. You fired your gun, to no effect, and this misty creature is now coming at you. What would you like to do?
Right. As it gets close, I'm going to throw myself under it, and following Og's instructions, I'm going to run to the as fast as I can to the valve and try to reverse what Nuclear did.
Okay.
No, what
what Ken did.
It was it Ken?
It was Ken.
What Ken did.
Yep.
You should take all the eyes out of his name. Oh, he has no eyes.
Yeah, he has no eyes. That was hilarious.
Appropriate.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sad.
sad.
Yeah, so you run over to do that, and as you do so, this thing attempts to sort of pierce out at you. So I do need you to go ahead and make a speed defense roll for me. Now, this is difficult.
Right,
this is Go ahead.
I'm definitely going to use effort for this one.
Okay, yeah, so it was normally a challenging task, so using effort would bring it down to a 4, a difficult task, so you'd need a 12 on the dice to succeed.
And I've got speed defense.
Okay, yup, as you're trained in speed defense. Alright, so that brings it down to 3, so it's a demanding task, so you would need a 9 on the dice. 9 or higher.
And I'll use. What does edge in speed give me?
So an edge just means that
I
when you spend
need
effort,
less.
you only have to spend 2 points of effort instead of 3.
So I'll use. Can I double that and use 4 points of effort of speed to bring it down 2 levels, or?
At first tier,
Not
no.
yet. No.
Not
You can
yet.
only use
Okay.
1.
Okay. So I'll just spend 2 and bring it down 1 level.
Okay, yep, so
One
it's
more level.
it's a difficulty of 3, so you have to hit a 9 or higher on the dice.
throwing myself down. I try and roll under this smoke. Come on.
Back up. Come on.
17. 17.
Wow.
Awesome. And so, yeah, you manage to do exactly that. And as you kind of come up, you kind of slam, a finger down on the keypad, and with your other hand, you start to turn the valve again. And because this thing came in close to you, it actually is close enough. You hear the hissing, and you see this thing, starting to get sucked in back into the valve, but almost as if it's like slow motion. It's going in. It's trying to resist. And I actually need you to make one more speed defense for me as it tries to grab you one last time. But because it's being sucked in, it is reduced by 1 difficulty. So the base difficulty at this point is a 4. You can spend effort again if you need to. Yeah.
I'll spend.
You've already spent your
again,
effort.
So...
Oh, can you not spend
You
effort
can't.
per roll?
Oh, I can't.
Oh, okay.
It's per round.
Per round. Okay, my apologies. So, but again, you're trained in speed defense, so it knocks it down to a 3 again.
So it's a 9.
Yep.
Is it?
Come on.
9 or higher.
Come on.
I got 2 eyes.
Awesome. And so, as you kind of dodge your head out of the way at the last minute, and you see the tendrils get sucked in, and you kind of close it, and you feel this voice, or you feel this presence in your mind, and you hear this voice, and it's at this point, it's angry. It's very angry with you, and it says, "You shouldn't have done that. You will pay for that."
I'll just...
Does everybody hear this, or only?
I'm ready to cuss this thing out.
Yeah. No,
Holy
everybody does not
shit.
hear it. Only Caius hears it, or sorry, only Paco hears it at this point.
Yes.
Paco again draws his what's the name of this circular sword gun?
Buzzer. Kill
And
the buzzer.
fires off a
Buzzer,
couple
yeah.
of rounds. It fires off the buzzer into the air a couple of times. Go, motherfucker!
Yeah. Oh, if I was a bastard, I would use a GM intrusion to have it blow up.
Do it. Have him break the tubing.
Yeah.
Why the hell not? Yeah. So now, again, you can use experience to negate the effect. Otherwise, I'll give you the 1 experience, and you can give it to somebody else, the other one.
Oh, you should spend it, dude, for real.
It versus the fool.
I mean, unless
I'm
you
so
want to see what'll
tempted.
happen if it comes back out.
Let that one
It's
fool
gonna
come
kill
out.
everybody.
I
We don't even have a fan.
I would take it.
I'm gonna take
Let
it.
that motherfucker out.
And this time, and this time, Chris, yeah, nuclear can have the experience
XP.
point.
Alrighty.
Yep.
So why don't you
Oh
describe?
shit!
Yeah, go ahead and describe as your wild shots, your panic shots, actually backfire in just a horrible way. Go ahead and narrate that scene for me, if you will.
So he closes the valve and you hear a and the thing gets sucked back in, and he closes it and seals it inside. And as he slumps to the floor, sort of letting out a sigh of relief, he draws his sword and goes, he draws his buzzer and goes, motherfucker, and shoots twice just randomly into the air, away from everything. But one of them just bounces off a pipe on the other side of the room, comes ricocheting back, and just severs the pipe over his head, and it comes out again.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It appears again, just hovering in front of his face, and he goes, "Oh shit!"
Caius, you glorious bastard!
Awesome. And so you guys realize at this point,
Get out of here!
yeah, that this thing doesn't seem to be affected by your physical weapons. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to cut over to Og at this point. Og, you have just had this bracelet basically graft onto your arm. You've taken that 4 points of damage, and you can just feel this constant burning on your arm as this thing is clamping ever tighter.
Yeah, so I'm reading there. I'm down on my knees in pain. My arm just feels like it's caught fire, and I'm like, with my other hand, I'm trying to like push it off, like you're smearing ink or grease over your arm, but it doesn't seem to be coming off. What's happening with it?
So it doesn't seem to have any effect. It seems as though this thing, you're just basically just making it greasy. You're trying to rub it off. You're trying to pull it off. It's like it's this, I don't know, it almost feels like this mix of sort of mechanical and biological. It's like almost like something is just needling it down into your skin, grafting onto your arm, becoming part of you slowly.
So my hand's like becoming metal?
Not so much that, it's more so that it's like this. Well, yeah, I guess so. In a sense, it's this bracelet seems to be ever so slowly almost melding into your skin, almost like melting onto your arm.
Am I taking 4 points of damage per round?
No. Mechanically, you will take 1 point of damage per minute from this thing, but no. For now, you've taken your initial 4.
I've taken my initial 4. Or is there any kind of mechanical things I should know about?
Nope, that's it. Just the
All
1
right.
point.
So
yeah,
my immediate reaction is to run into the medical unit of where I've been told that it's at.
Okay, absolutely. So yes, you run over into the next room. You basically sort of half push, half kick the keypad, on the door, and it goes and slides open, and you run in, and you see these what almost maybe like beds or tables or something laid out. They almost look like pods, like somebody would sit in or lay in them, and they have these metallic devices over them with needles and with lights and these metallic objects. You kind of see over on the left-hand side what looks to be almost like a cabinet, glass doors, and it's got these vials inside of it. It looks like bandages and some stuff that you can recognize as rudimentary equipment. And there's also a computer terminal. It seems to be sparking a little bit, but there's a faint hum coming from the terminal.
I immediately go over to the terminal. I try to access it and type in my ailment about my arm to see if there's any way that a computerized instrument can alleviate or take this off with maybe sitting down in a chair and having these arms come down and repair me.
Okay, so that is a fairly difficult task. So I would say you'd have to make an intellect test, difficulty 4, to succeed.
I'm not going to spend any effort. I'm just going to go for it. Here we go.
Okay.
So I'm typing. Oh God, this thing's burning. 14.
Ooh, nice. Yes. So you sort of push this button, and the view screen illuminates, and you see it's like a touch screen. You kind of touch it and you scroll, and you're looking at these images, and you can't quite understand the the symbols or the language that this thing is written in, but you do just kind of from your experience with Numenera in general, you manage to kind of suss out what you need to do here, and you actually hit a couple of buttons, a couple of images on the screen, and one of the pods near you, the light turns on over it, and you start seeing the devices above it go zzz, 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 and you walk over to it, and you kind of hold your arm out, and you see this clamp come down and kind of grab onto your wrist, and then you see these needles come down, and they poke into your arms underneath where the metal is not, and you actually feel an injection going into your body, and you feel better. It actually heals you. You can, if you want, go ahead and roll a d6. It would be like if you rested. So you're gonna.
So I can roll a d6.
Yeah. Yep. Roll a d6 and then add your level. So add 1.
All right. 6. I rolled 7. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So you restore 7 points to whatever pools you need to. However, the graft on your arm doesn't seem to change. It is still on there. This device doesn't seem to be able to kind of figure out what it needs to do. It's simply looking at you as an injured, biological entity, and it's healed you. And your hand, by the way, is healed as well.
Excellent. So there doesn't appear to be a way to take this off.
Not in here. Not that you can see.
Is it still burning?
Yep. It's less so now because, you have this sort of antiseptic and this, this painkiller in your blood, but it does still hurt.
Can I move my hand?
Yep. You have full use of your hand and your limbs.
All right, I'm going to walk up and punch the wall with it.
Okay. It hurts. You punch the wall. You manage to just avoid breaking your fingers. I'm not going to make you take any damage for it, but it does not appear to change your state in any way.
I just wanted to see if there would be like any kind of metallic residue or like any kind of added strength from the metal, but I guess not.
No,
like
it doesn't
hand.
appear. Yeah, it doesn't appear so. It just appears that for some reason this thing is latched onto you and wants to hurt you.
Do I see a saw?
Yes, not one that you would necessarily be able to pick up. One of the mechanical devices is a saw, absolutely.
But there's not one that I can take with me, right?
Well, not one that you could just pick up that's freely available.
I got you. I understand. I look down at my knife. I might be needing you. And you said that there was a small collection of vials, right?
Yep.
I go over to the vials. I collect them. I head back to where the people are.
All right, excellent. So you do that. The rest of you guys are in that room. The mist is now out again. Both Ken and Paco can hear this sort of laughter in their head. Nuclear, you hear nothing. This thing seems to be completely uninterested in you. Now that it's out of the the valve or whatever, out of the conduit. And so, what are you guys gonna? Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna have you all roll initiative for me. So go ahead and make a speed test, and it's against a difficulty of 5.
Well, I only rolled a 5, so.
Yeah.
I would like to, as I'm moving towards this button to let Ogman in, and Paco's just flung his hat off, shot the gun, shit's gone down. I want to, leap up in the air, grab the hat, and catch it, and then flick it towards Ken, and whisper to him, "Catch it, blind, Sensei."
All right.
It will help you. And then,
And then you basically open the door like you were gonna let Og back in.
Well, yeah, continue to go do that,
Yeah.
but obviously Nuclear isn't thinking that he's blind and can't catch it, but
Right.
whisper to him so maybe he can reach down within and grasp that inner fucking
Yeah.
that he needs right now to grab
His key
In a
energy. Yeah.
ceramic hat.
it. Yeah.
And as you open the door, you kind of peek through really quick, and you literally all you see is the back of Og streaking across the room in going out of a door away from you. So that's the last thing that you see before you kind of turn around to face the room again. And Ken, you feel this, you hear this whisper, and you feel this clunk, kind of hit your head as this hat slid across the floor and is right there at your head. What would you like to do?
I mean, I'm now you're saying I'm hearing a laughter.
Yeah, within your head. Yep, you can tell it was that creature.
Okay, so the thing is laughing. Is it a laughter like hooray, yay? Or is it a laughter like I'm gonna rip you the fuck apart, kind of,
Yeah, it's the
Is
latter
it like a
for sure.
or like how does it sound?
It's definitely a malicious.
Is it a
laughter,
hee hee
but
hee or a ha ha ha?
It could also be a ho ho ho.
It could be. It's all of those things. It's terrifying. But you also get the impression it is not really interested in you anymore, Ken.
So I feel something. I hear Nuclear whisper something as he was moving away from me, and I'm also having this laughter fill up my internal senses. The only sense I really have left, except for the sense of touch, which is interrupted by a large smack of something on my head. So initially, Ken jerks up from the kowtow, from himself kowtowing, and he's still shaking a little bit, not necessarily screaming in pain, just breathing heavily and whimpering. From time to time, he starts tapping forward tentatively at what hit him, and just fumbling around with whatever it happened to be.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, potentially, you saw, you kind of feel it, and you figure out what it is. It's that hat. You can kind of ascertain that is what it is. You can attempt to use it if you've taken any, if you need to restore any of your ability pools, your effort, but it will not restore your eyes, unfortunately.
Well, he'll sit there fiddling around with it, seeing if there's an option he could see through, since it's a hat.
Okay. And to his great dismay, he cannot. So, Paco, at this point, the almost hero of the hour, the man who had for a minute ended this threat, but then made things just so much worse, and who knows that he is now going to be the target of this thing, what would you like to do?
I'm gonna just go and throw myself away from the smoke monster.
Okay.
Screaming. Paco sort of just jumps up onto his short feet and just legs it in a random direction through the room, sort of go, "Ah!" and there's sort of dust and everything flying from his clothes as he just charges at the top of his speed, weaving back and forth, trying to avoid this thing. But he's not going in any particular direction, but he is looking around to see if there are any other valves in the room.
No, in this room there's only the one. Although in here you don't think that it would do any good because the conduit is broken, at least in here. So you are just kind of running around looking for stuff. You don't you don't necessarily find anything. It's coming after you. So again, this thing's MO is that it makes 2 attacks, and you need to make speed defenses against it each time. And so I think we've determined that because you are trained in speed defense, your base is going to be a 4 difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have you make 2 rolls. Well, I'll have you make the first roll for me. You can choose to spend effort if you wish or not.
I've still got effort, and I'll still spend some.
Okay. So it'll reduce it to a 3, so you need a 9 or higher.
And the second one, 17.
Right. Oh, wow, you're lucky. All right. So, again, these tentacles come in, and you manage again with just very nimbly to kind of dodge out of the way. This thing, you had felt this sort of presence in the back of your mind the whole time, and at this point, it almost seems like that presence is out of your head. You can tell that the creature is still here, but it's not trying to psychically communicate with you anymore. Now, I think Chris, did I skip you? Because I had interpreted your action as trying to open the door and all that. So I don't know.
I don't think so. No.
Okay, gotcha. So then in that case, we're going to go back to Og. What are you going to do?
So, can I try this? Can I spin a point of experience to have a line of Freon in the wall that I can rip off?
You know what? Why the hell not? Yeah, that works.
Awesome. I burst through the door like a madman. I see this giant cloud before me. I see Paco weaving in and out. I see the blood-filled hands of Ken. And I see standing at the door, Nuclear, with a bizarre look in his face. I reach over to the wall. I pull off the line of Freon. And I'm trying to freeze the monster.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. All right. So yeah, so go ahead then and make a test for me. I guess it would be a speed test in this case. And again, base difficulty is 5.
Okay. My question is the Freon a light weapon?
No, I would say that basically what you've done is you've ripped down this tubing or piping from the wall that you could tell was sort of the climate control system. So it'd be a medium weapon.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend a effort on my speed pool.
Yep.
So that'll be 2 points for my speed.
Yep.
And because I have an edge of 1. God, I'm trying to think. And can I use my shield to help fan the Freon towards the creature as an asset?
I don't think so, because I think that the way this is working, you'd pretty much have to hold this pipe in 2 hands to kind of control it.
Okay. All right, here we go. So I dropped it down to a 4?
Yep.
15!
Wow.
Yes! Yes!
Ridiculous. All right. Cool. So, yeah. So you have basically made this thing at least temporarily corporeal. You've frozen this mist. Mechanically, yeah. Wow. That's awesome. And so, yeah, it is temporarily sort of. Nice. All right. And so, yeah, so he comes busting into the room, maybe temporarily saving the day. Nuclear, at this point, you've just witnessed this happen. You've seen this thing. You saw the creature kind of become frozen, at least sort of temporarily. What would you like to do?
Ah. Holy fuck, I have no idea. Honestly.
Kill it!
Yeah. I look at what the scene around me, I'm like, holy fuck. I see this thing frozen for a moment. This thing, I've been thinking of it as steam the entire time, kind of. And what Ogman's done has been able to put it in a solid form. So I would rush towards it, my mechanical hand forming into the dagger-like pigment that it makes, and lash out at it.
All right.
Making an attack.
Yeah.
Does nuclear? Do you have a cipher?
No, I don't, dude. I used it last time.
Well,
I thought we got 4 each or something.
Well, so no, I think I gave out
Uh-oh.
a total of like, I think I gave out a total. What did I give out? I think I gave out 6 ciphers total.
I didn't
No,
know
you gave out more than that.
Or maybe I gave out 8 ciphers.
Because
I
you
mean,
gave out all those ciphers, and then there was all the ciphers that Ogden took off of the boss man, in which we had slew.
Yeah, but I used my KY jelly.
Yeah, well, yeah, you guys got at least 8 ciphers. So if you want, Chris, I will. You know what? I'm just gonna use my cipher list here, and I'm gonna pick one randomly. You
Okay.
have a level 3 cipher, an anoetic. Oh, go ahead.
Can I throw him one of mine?
What if my turtle fucking hits it, just floating around the room?
Well, so that thing scampered out of the way. That thing basically left because you kicked it over. Yeah. This thing is, you basically have a liquid injector, but you don't know yet what it does. And it's a level 3 cipher.
Alright. So this thing's fucking frozen.
Yep.
It's off to the side of me. I reach into my pack. I pull out this fucking syringe. It's huge. And I squeeze a little bit of it. This liquid comes out of it. I look at it. I don't know what the fuck it's going to do. I rush towards this figure and I lash out with my mechanical arm, stabbing it. It pierces into the form of it, injecting this liquid into it. I can see it start fucking wreathing through the what I thought was steam is now turned solid figure.
Oh, wow. You just helped this thing so much. Okay.
And I turn around and run.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, and so as this liquid kind of pierces through the sort of frozen form that this of this mist, you see that it starts to dissipate the ice. It starts to crack the ice. The ice starts to fall off, and tendrils of mist start coming out of it. But and as you start booking it to run, Paco, you see this scene, and how do you react to this? What do you do?
I'm running for the door as well. Everybody out!
Nice. Now, so you are running towards the door.
And as I run, I pull out a small circular object with some old symbols on it, and start trying to manipulate it.
All right. And so mechanically, so what are you trying to do? Activate a cipher?
Yes.
But you're running full out towards the door, trying to get out of here
actually,
first, or?
If somebody actually, if I think that Nuclear's better with ciphers than I am, so I'll throw it to Nuclear. See if you can work this one.
Oh,
And
boy,
can
throwing
I'll just
ciphers.
put what it's.
Yeah, sure. And so, yeah, Nuclear, you would catch it. Now, Ken, you can sort of sense here your companions basically leaving you as you're lying here on the ground. They're running out the door.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Nah, I ain't going down like
But-
that.
I haven't left him yet.
With
No,
all
no, no.
the chaos,
You're still there. The other two started running though.
but with the chaos
I
and
was
the
scared
yelling,
for a little bit.
nothing further has happened to Ken, right?
Right.
So
This seems
nothing
like a
has
pre-amendment.
actually attacked him or caused him any pain or any additional suffering other than when he had his eyes removed.
Correct.
So Ken
Can't see where to run.
Ken
He can't.
is struggling to stand up, right? And while he's struggling to stand up, still, shaky, his body's shaking from the pain, his breathing heavy and labored. As such, he raises his head almost like if he was looking toward the sky, if he still had eyes, and he just extends his hands, palms up, covered in the blood, in his own blood, and trying to muster out what little words he can. What he's barely able to say is guide me, and I will never miss heaven again.
Okay. And as that happens, you get this sense pulling you. You can't stand. You can only crawl. But your senses have sort of sharpened, your other senses, and you realize the direction of the footsteps of your running companions. You've heard what you presume to be Og with his heavy boots and everything running towards you, and so you kind of can ascertain the way to the door to get out of here, and you can start crawling that way if you want to.
So hearing these footsteps, almost as a reply to his labored words, the images of droplets of water dropping off of a leaf into a small pond. He's following them, stumbling, trying to stand, but failing each way, and mumbling to himself, breath still labored, body shaking, shivering, and just the sheer amount of pain that he still feels.
Nice. All right. So this is so funny because that cipher that Nuclear so graciously gave to my NPC, it basically says if a creature is injected, the difficulty of its next action is decreased by 3 steps. So with an NPC, I would imagine that means it's increased. Your roll is increased by 3 steps. And so being that this thing is a level 5 normally, it would essentially be a heroic task, a level 8 on its next action. And so, with that, Og, you are now the target of its wrath. But
Wait a minute, doesn't its next action need to be to get out of the ice?
no, because the ice was being destroyed by this liquid.
But it was fully.
Yeah,
But it was like a hot liquid?
No. It's like it sort of kind of flash froze it in a sense. I would imagine, right? Like kind of a air conditioner.
Because I was
making it so
picturing
cold.
the scene from Terminator 2 where the T-2000 got hit with a liquid nitrogen. I don't know what you were picturing.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, but that's liquid nitrogen, and you said
I
Freon.
said Freon, yeah. I was picturing more like an air conditioning, like it froze the thing.
I've been splashed by Freon. That don't
That's fine. I'll use a GM intrusion if I have to. I'll throw you some XP, but no, the thing is not going to. Basically it gets out of the ice at this point. but it's not going to attack you with its tendrils. What's happening is you start to feel reality sort of warping around you, and you actually start to feel as if time itself is slowing or freezing. And so I need you. And I don't know why this is having you do a speed test, but that's what it says to do. So I'm actually going to let you decide whether you want to do a speed roll or an intellect roll for me to defend against this creature's action. But keep in mind that because of that cipher, it is normally a difficulty of 8. So thereby impossible. So I don't know if there's any way that you can think to avoid this.
Yeah, so I would like to try to use my shield to give me an asset against the defense of this, to try to blow it away, and that would decrease it by 1, and then I could use an effort with my speed and decrease it by another, which would make it into the realms of possibility.
Okay. To a 6. Yeah, I think I could see that happening. You could now, because it's a mist form again, if you sort of wave your shield in front of it and creating this little gust, it might, yeah. So go ahead and do that. So you need an 18.
Okay, give me 1 second. I gotta take off the points off my speed.
Yep.
Okay. So we're looking at an 18.
Yep.
Or higher.
Yep.
Something like that.
18 or higher.
5.
All right. So it's as if you're basically frozen in time right now. You don't take any damage, but you seem like you can basically see all of your companions moving around you. It almost as if they're moving in hyper speed. But you seem stuck. You can't do anything. You can't move anywhere. You're stuck in time, and yet you're almost out of reality, so to speak. You guys feel this just warping of reality, and you can feel time sort of rippling, this very strange effect going on around you. And you kind of turn around and you see Og. Literally, it was like he had waved his shield, and it's like now he's standing there like a statue. He doesn't look frozen. You can't tell exactly what's going on, but yeah. So that's what happened. So at this point, Nuclear, what are you gonna do? And I believe that Paco just threw you a cipher.
Cipher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having injected this thing, I pull out this fucking cipher, and I'm like, this is the thing, and it doesn't do jack, and it just helps it. I'm looking at the scene around me. I'm looking towards Ken. Though his eyes are missing, that can be fixed. The whole thing's messed up. I reach up in the air to grab this cipher floating towards me. It's almost as if it's in slow motion. It's rotating through the air. My mechanical hand reaches up, and I grab it out of the air. I bring it down towards me, and I look at it, and I immediately begin to fiddle with it, and I will... Yeah, I'll just fuck with it. I'm not even going to make any checks or anything. I'm just going to see if I can activate it.
You want to just try to activate it? Okay.
And as soon as it's activated, I'm going to throw it.
All right. Yeah, so you sort of twist it and play with it and whatever. And you... Oh, man. It sort of powers on. You can feel this sort of, electrical pulse coming through it, but you don't know exactly what's happened. So you want to throw it?
Like a hot potato. It's doof. I don't know what the hell that means, but it's like pulsating. This light begins to accumulate from it, and I toss it towards this figure that we've been engaged with the entire time.
Okay, and you see it almost in slow motion. It arcs, and it it passes through, or like right over Ogg's head, and as it does so, it literally slows down, like it's being, almost like gravity is being affected. And then as it passes over its head, it speeds back up again, just like out of the blue, and this pulse goes up, and you see it actually does buffet this smoke back, but it also sends this wave through the room, and I need Nuclear and Paco to go ahead and make a speed defense roll. Because this thing is a level 7, the difficulty is 7, as it is basically sending this paralyzing shockwave. Always check what the cipher does before you use it.
Can I spend effort?
What's that? Can you spend effort?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, too, that you can use XP to re-roll your dice if you need to. So.
Yeah. I haven't really needed to, except for that one, which I was cool with. I like the fuck up. Oh my god, I rolled a 1. I'm not shitting you, dude.
All right. Before I tell you what happens, Paco, what did you roll? Well, actually, before we do that, so it's a speed test. Normally it's a level 7, so you have training in speed defense, so it would knock it down to a 6. So that would put the base at
I've used
18.
effort.
Effort. All right, so that'll knock it down to a 5, which means you need a 15 or higher.
I got a 17.
Oh, wow. All right. So Dice Stream's being nice to you. You managed to sort of dodge out of the way and kind of almost like sliding like into, head first across the floor underneath this sort of sonic wave. And you kind of come up just
shouting,
fine.
"What are you doing?"
Yeah, but
who gave it to me?
But unfortunately, Nuclear, you are basically paralyzed in this, like, just sort of stuck up in, almost in, like, in a standing position. You can't move, as you've been paralyzed by this sonic force. But you notice, actually, right before you become fully paralyzed, that this creature is too. This creature, somehow, this device has done something to this mist. And as that happens, Og, you come out of whatever this weird effect was that you were in, dropping to your knees, but you are unaffected by the paralyzation.
And I can't talk at all.
Nope, you can't. And Ken, you're basically just, doing your thing as well. But you can you can attempt to do something if you want, a move action.
So, I'm down on my knees. I see the creature's frozen. So all this mist is frozen in one place, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's paralyzed, but yes, it's sort of stuck, not moving.
Okay. Is there any barrels in here?
Possibly. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I want to take a barrel, take off the lid, and just like take part of its body into the barrel and close the lid.
Okay. Yeah.
Trying to diminish it.
Sure. So there's not a barrel per se, but there is something that you could use. There is basically like a container with a lid on it that you could attempt to do that. Certainly.
What size is it?
It would be like a small footlocker kind of.
Okay, perfect. Then I will try to fit as much of it as I possibly can into it in the time allotted me and close it.
All right.
And then I will take off my satchel and wrap it around there, trying to stuff it and make it airtight if I can.
Okay, absolutely.
That's pretty much.
And Paco says there'll be an incubation in the medical room. There'll be a germ-free sort of area. Let's get to the medical room and put it in a sealed. There'll be some sort of sealed cabinets in the medical room, surely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like some kind of containment. Yeah, absolutely.
For containment.
So yeah, so you do that. You sort of trap much of the body in this footlocker, and as you're doing that, as you're kind of like maneuvering it, you see this little thing tumble out of the footlocker, ting, 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 and it's this metallic object that looks. It's got like these two little prongs on it. It almost looks like a fork, like a two-pronged fork, and it's very, very thin. Just kind of tumbled onto the ground. Ting, ting, ting. But yes, you managed to trap that thing in this in this footlocker, and then put your bag around it or whatever.
I grab up that two-pronged fork.
Yep.
Does it look like a tuning fork?
No, it's even smaller than that. It's almost this very, very thin like sort of handle, and then just these like two little metallic prongs on it, and you can actually feel like there's this little electronic device, so you feel like there might be like an electrode or something in this thing that would have energy go through it.
Awesome. I'm gonna try and activate it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, you can easily activate it. You can feel it's got this little like it's shooting electricity through the through the tongs. It's very little though. It doesn't seem like it would be used for like a weapon or anything.
Okay, cool. Well, I deactivate it and I put it in my pocket and save it for later.
Cool.
Yeah,
Marco says, I want my revenge.
So is my friend there on the ground? Because I want to help him. I want to help Ken. If there's time.
What was well, sure. I mean, what was Ken doing? Was Ken crawling towards the door trying to get out?
He was looking for his ass.
Ken was crawling towards those footsteps you mentioned him here.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So you see Ken basically crawling across the floor towards the door out of this room.
Yeah. So I want to grab and scoop him up like a little baby that he is, and take him to the medical center.
All right. Absolutely. And so you guys all kind of run.
So you feel these big, veiny, masculine arms pick you up like the child that you are.
Nuclear's got that.
I'll grab the paralyzed.
Yeah, being that that Ken is damn near paralyzed. Yeah.
Hush now.
You do not speak to him. If he hears your voice, he starts wailing. No.
Yeah. And Paco kind of grabs Nuclear, who's paralyzed, and tries to kind of maneuver him, as best he can. So yeah, you guys managed to make it, in as silly as the scene is, into this medical room. And Og, you start to get a little bit concerned because you're not sure if this device is gonna hold this mist creature for very long.
Oh, sorry. I got an idea.
My thing
there
is,
must be. I got an idea.
So,
there's a radiotherapy sort of thing in here. Can we blast it with radiation?
Augie walks over to you, grabs you by your shirt, and shakes you. Stop right now. He takes his friend over to the machine, and he's going to activate it to see if he can heal him.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm going to say, because you've already done it, you kind of know what to do. So you go do 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 do, and you do a similar thing, similar process to what you did before. Now, what you realize, so it does its thing and it injects. I'm assuming you mean Ken, right? You're trying to heal Ken.
I mean Ken. Yeah. Who did I say?
Okay. No, you said my friend. I just assumed. Yeah. So all right. And so.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it does its normal procedure. It injects you with painkillers and a stimulant, which makes you feel better. But then it sort of, and it's scanning you. It's like it's got these devices that are going over your body, and the rest of you guys can see these like green lights kind of tracking up and down his body, almost as if this thing is sort of trying to figure out what else is wrong with him. And then you hear the computer going, and it starts emitting this noise, almost as if it's speaking. You can't understand the language though that it's speaking, but it is saying something, and these symbols are appearing on the screen. It looks like what it's doing is it's running a diagnostic, and it would be like telling a surgeon or something, this is the recommended course of action, but you can't read it. You don't know what it's saying, at least not right now. You could attempt to make an intellect test if you want.
I will.
Okay. This is going to be pretty challenging, so I would say it's at a 5.
Okay. 7.
Okay. Yeah. So you just can't sort of figure out if and how you could make this this mobile surgical unit do anything to help Ken other than what it's done.
You see Augie takes a sharp look, and he glares over at Paco. Hey, come here. Come here.
Paco cautiously, slowly approaches, looking sheepish.
Now Augie turns over to you. I'm sorry I was short with you, but we're gonna need all hands on deck if we're gonna deal with this thing. Now, I'm not a smart man. I never claimed to be. Is there any way that you might have a way to understand what this machine's saying? And he points to it, his finger thumping against it.
Yeah,
Nuclear's frozen, right? Okay.
Yeah, and you would potentially, because you have training in the Numenera.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to, you could, you can make an intellect test. In this case, against a difficulty of 4, because you're trained in the Numenera.
Okay, and I'll spend some effort as well.
Okay.
You see, Ogden walks over to where Ken is, and he holds his hand, and he grabs his shoulder. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be okay, man. You're gonna be all right.
Got you.
Am I muted? Oh, what Ken is hearing as the machine is doing what it's doing and speaking in whatever odd tongue it's speaking in, is in his own mind he can see his master before him, and his master is moving his lips, but it sounds like his master is chanting the same odd syllables and whatnot that this machine is cycling through. And almost in the background, cutting through the pain, he can actually start hearing Ogden's voice. And you hear Ken just muster barely, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Awesome. And
what'd you get, Paco?
Yeah, Paco, let's see what you got for your roll.
Kenotsume, you are, though you cannot see, you can direct my hands and my direction, because you know these things better than me. Can he assist me in this in any way? If I describe what I'm looking at and describe what's going on?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually say in this
we're
case.
Sort of discussing.
Yeah, I'm gonna say in this case, Ken, you're also trained in Numenera, right? Okay, so you rolled a 17. You actually are sort of going back through your training and through your mind, and you remember getting access at some point to this device that kind of purportedly translated the dialect that you guys speak now, the truth, the language introduced by the Aeon priests, into a prior age, the language of a prior age. And so you kind of get bits and pieces of what this thing is saying. You recognize this as an 8th world language. And it's basically, it's a lot of words that you don't necessarily understand. It's using a lot of medical terminology. But it was saying, you pick out a few key phrases. Basically, it's saying that to be able to fix your problem, it would have to create new synthetic eyes for you, but it's not currently loaded with the proper materials to do that. So it's almost as if it's instructing a technician, you need to give me the right material so I can complete this task.
So again, as the painkillers are doing their job and the stimulants working their way through Ken's bloodstream, he's getting pulled slightly further and further from the visions and the hallucinations in his own mind, hearing his friend and allies speaking to him, hearing this machine going on, recalling this older language, understanding these little bits and pieces. He's trying to just shake his head a little, and piece by piece, as he starts picking up on these words, he's regurgitating them almost mechanically.
Okay, yeah. And so, Paco, you would hear that, all of you would hear that, and you realize that and Nuclear, you might recognize this, or this might resonate with you most of all, because basically what this device is saying, or at least the way Ken's interpreting it as, is it's saying it needs material to create sort of new implants, ocular implants for him. And so you may actually have some experience in that. So potentially what I would say is, if you wanted to, you could make an intellect test to see what materials are in this room, to see if it would be possible to complete this task.
Is Nuclear not frozen?
But I'm still paralyzed.
Not anymore. That was a temporary effect. You guys have been in this room long enough that you're not paralyzed anymore.
Oh, fuck. Alright. I want to spend some fucking effort.
Alright, yeah, so normally it would be in this case it would be a difficult task. But I'm going to actually say that you, because of your training, you would have, or because of the fact that you have these eyes, you have an asset, so it's going to drop the difficulty to 3.
I rolled an 8.
Okay, did you spend effort or no?
No, I did spend effort.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then that's fine, because then it would drop it down to a 2, so the difficulty was 6. So yeah, you have ascertained that, in fact, there is the material in here to create new ocular implants, but you know that this procedure would take a while, usually between the creation, the implantation, and then the healing process. It's usually a minimum 2 to 3 days to complete it, but the capability is here to do that.
So Nuclear walks around and he begins inspecting gadgets, his eye manifesting light circulating on the side of his head. It strobes up and down as he researches the medical equipment in the room that could help Ken, and then he walks back over to this blind master and we could help you, but the healing process would take long. Many days.
I squeeze Ken's hand and I say, I'll protect you. I'll protect you from the creature. And I'm going to gaze around the room, see if I can find any of those suction vents.
You do see suction vents in here, but you realize that this whole sort of thing is interconnected, and so while yes, you could suck him into that vent, potentially he could get out in the room that has the broken conduit. So that probably wouldn't be a good idea.
I think what we need to do is repair the conduit, and then we might be able to suck him in. Or we can just flee.
Well, in the meantime...
How about go on.
I was going to say, in the meantime, Nuclear's going to do what he can to repair Ken's eyes.
All right, so yeah, you start setting up the thing. You get the materials loaded in and whatever. And Og, you realize that this creature, it definitely was sucked in by that conduit, but you also realize that it was affected by things other than that weren't necessarily physical weapons, right? So it seems like, you know, you could posit that like an energy source or a you know, some sort of non-biological type device might actually affect this creature.
And I take out the small thing that's in my pocket, and it's like a small taser. I press it.
Yeah, and you get the impression that in and of itself may not produce enough energy, but then your eyes kind of drift up to the medical equipment, and you realize the type of power that those things must generate. And you figure you could probably jerry-rig something to make this thing maybe into a weapon.
I look over to Paco. Hey, Paco.
Hey, amigo.
Tell me about that idea you had earlier.
Every medical center, they have some kind of radiotherapy to blast it with radiation. Why not just put it in an isolated unit, put it in the center of the radiotherapy, and just blast it with radiation until it's destroyed?
Yeah, we might be able to rig up something with this medical equipment. I think you're right. So, I think that's what we should try to focus on doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you want to do that, I would say that you could make an intellect test. Now, that would normally be pretty difficult because, you know, this isn't necessarily something that you're trained in. However, I would also say that because you are trained in breaking inanimate objects, theoretically, if you know how to break things, you could probably know how to put them together as well. So I could see you could use that as an asset.
Oh shit! Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. What's the difficulty here?
So in this case, let's say it's going to be 3.
All right. 12.
Oh yeah. So yeah, go ahead and describe kind of how you succeed at that, how you rig it up.
So I swing up to the medical equipment like it's monkey bars, and I take an elbow to one, crack, and I find another one, and I attach it to it, and I take out some screws. Paco, try the power now. Shit, turn it off. And that goes on for a while as we try experiments, getting the voltage just right, the power coupling is correct, running the right wires. A couple times they get electrocuted by touching the ground, but eventually we create this device. It looks like the mouth of a Tyrannosaurus Rex with medical equipment. In between the incisors sizzles this electricity.
Nice. And then are you gonna blast him or blast the thing with it?
If it comes in. Is
Well,
this
no,
mobile? Can we take it out?
No. But So I had pictured that you had put the creature
In the pack.
this thing, in the pack, and then brought it in with you. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh
it
yeah, I would send
That's
Paco out to
my
grab the creature then in the bag.
Yeah. So yeah, you would have the creature in that, sort of footlocker thing in with the bag wrapped around it with you. So yeah, you could attempt to, if you want to.
All right, yeah, let's nuke it.
Sweet.
Put it in the machine and nuke it.
Well, in this case, it's like
Turn
one
the
of those
power to maximum.
yeah, it's one of those like arms, so with this device rigged on it. So basically, you kind of do that, and I would imagine Paco runs over and kind of hits the button to activate the thing, and it goes.
It's alive!
Yep.
It's alive!
And what happens is, as this like stream of electricity is coming down, just as you're pulling your hand away, Og, you get a little bit of a zap from it. But what's nice is it's just enough that you actually feel the pressure and the pain in your arm that had that thing on it dissipate, and you see this metallic object fall to the floor as you got blasted, just this little electric shock. So it's enough that you actually take 1 point of damage, but it has removed that graft from your arm. And you actually see the bag that this thing was in basically catch on fire, right? And then it bores this like hole into the foot locker, and you can see this kind of smoke rising out, and then all of a sudden you feel this like psychic pressure for a minute on your mind, and then it just dissipates, and the box actually goes but this electricity stream is still going, and it's starting to burn through the floor of this medical unit.
Turn off! Turn off!
Turn it off!
Nice. Yeah, so you do.
Oh, we didn't make an off button? Yes, we did.
God
Yes,
damn
we
it.
did.
Man, Paco.
Awesome.
I cut the cable.
So you have basically, as far as you know, this creature has been destroyed. You don't see any presence of it. You can't see the mist or anything like that. So you have been successful as far as you know. What would you guys like to do? Remembering that your mission basically was to come here and get a power source to bring back to the Aeon Priest.
Yeah, I have a small thing, the small electrode in my pocket. I figured maybe he can use that.
Dude, I got the fucking pyramid on my stuff to my shit. Let's leave.
Shouldn't we use the medical center here to give him his eyes? Has he got his eyes back yet?
No, he doesn't. It would take about 2 or 3 days to complete that whole
I'm
process.
sorry, Ken. Fuck his eyes. Let's leave.
No, we gotta
later.
stay.
No,
We gotta stay.
we will lead
I think
him
we can.
across
2
the
days.
desert. 2 days. Oh, we almost lasted an hour. We've been here an hour. Like,
All right, let's put it up to a vote.
All right, yeah, so you guys vote. Who votes to stay and help Ken?
All right, I draw out my sword, and I say, I vote that we stay. I look at you.
And so does F-150.
So does that one. Yeah.
How about you, Paco? What do you want to do?
Paco trying to imitate Og's coolness, pulls out his knuckle dusters and says, "And so do love and hate."
Awesome. And what is Ken's vote? Not that we need to ask, but I'm going to.
Oh, Ken will maintain in his sitting position for as long as it takes.
All right. So, Nuclear, do you care about the results of this vote?
Well, seeing that he's outnumbered and he has no other choice, he thinks to himself, fuck!
Nice.
And I look at you and I say, we don't even know how to get out of here yet.
I know, but it's better than what the fuck we're doing now.
Well,
We
and
almost
so
died.
so you guys realize that this thing is this medical suite is fully automated, so it can do the job by itself. So potentially you could allow it to work on Ken, and you guys could try to figure out a way out of here.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the best idea. Yeah, let's work on that.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So, Nuclear, you remember that you have this pyramid device on you, but you don't know what it does. You could certainly attempt to figure it out. There's also a computer terminal in here, obviously, that they use to access the medical equipment. You could try to use that, too, to see if you could figure out any more information.
Oh, hell to the no. Nuclear has actually, after this encounter with this pyramid, he has actually thought of becoming a jack or glaive. He takes this triangular structure from his coat pocket and he looks at it and it's almost like this disgust on his tongue. Like he's had enough of these figments. We've been tossing them around enough throughout the party, not knowing what they're going to do, and just hoping for the best. And in the irony of that thought, he tosses it towards Paco, and he says, "It's in your hands now."
All right, so Paco, he has tossed it to you, the Jack, to see if you can figure out a way to get out of this place to potentially maybe still salvage the mission at the same time and figure out a power source to help your brother, whether he's your brother or not, complete his device.
Paco will examine it and press various buttons randomly and see what he comes up with.
Ho! Wait, no. Don't press that button.
And if you
Continue
want,
on.
so it would be a base difficulty of 4 to figure out what this thing is. Unless you have any kind of...
I'll have a go.
Yeah. Now, so that would be a 12. Do you want to use any effort or anything like that? It would be an intellect test.
Well, I'll assist them.
Okay. All right, so then it...
press the buttons. I'm like, no, not that one.
Okay, so with assistance and with using effort, it'll knock it down to a difficulty of 2.
Okay. Ooh, on the dot, 6.
All right. Excellent. So yeah, you realize that this thing basically activates as a sort of a map, right? You actually click this button on the bottom, and out of it comes this little device, and then it's got this like little light on it, and it goes boom, and this light and this little ping comes out, and before you see this almost like holographic map, and it's kind of sort of, there's this like flashing thing, and one part of the pyramid is showing you this whole map, and as almost instinctively you kind of reach out to touch it, and as you touch it you actually see this image, and I'm going to show you this image. It's a hologram of basically this, and let me see if I can make it full screen. It might not let me. I don't know if you can. Whoops.
With the
I don't know if you can
symbols on
see
the
it
floor.
well. Yeah, symbols on the floor and this big sort of blue disc. And you get the idea that this is your way out somehow. And you realize that this is only several rooms away. It wouldn't take very long to get there. But that's all you can ascertain.
And the power source for my brother?
You don't know. It doesn't show you anything about the power source. Although Nuclear remembers that little skittering automaton, realizes that is a power that has a power source within it. This thing does obviously have some power, but I mean it's probably just enough to activate this function.
Okay, there is some kind of device which will allow us to escape from this place, and it's not far from here. So all we need to do now is find a power source, repair the eyes, and go.
How do you know?
So we go and investigate this place, see if it's okay?
Yeah.
Look.
Nuclear looks at him questioningly. Like, how do you know this information?
It's something I've come across some sort of reference to something like this before. I'm not absolutely positive how it works. I don't know exactly if what I say is true, but that is what I believe.
That makes sense.
Hey.
Well. We need power.
Well,
Can we not hook up the device to the terminals that were running the medical machines?
The little pyramid device?
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. What effect are you hoping to get?
An explosion.
Explosion, okay. Within the within the medical room. All right. Sorry.
No, that's a terrible idea. Terrible.
Nuclear runs.
Terrible idea. Okay.
Nuclear runs. Yeah.
I'm not exactly trained to know what to do with this pyramid.
All right. So, hearing them say that we need the energy, and knowing that automaton had it in the previous room, would I be able to backtrack to get that sort of like figure?
Before he goes, I pull out the small device that's in my pocket. That's like an electrode.
Could you use this?
Well, that actually is still connected up onto the medical device unless you deactivated it. That's essentially what you use to blast the creature.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But you could make mention to that if you wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, I would make mention of that. If the creature's gone, then I don't see any reasons why we can't use this.
Yeah,
components.
If you could you get the impression that if you could figure out how to amplify its power like you've done here, then it might be a way to activate that device. But in and of itself, it's probably not enough for.
Mm-hmm.
But
I see.
Yeah, maybe. And yeah, so Nuclear, you could still, if you want, try to track down that automaton. And it wouldn't be difficult. You can actually, it's not able to go very far. It's basically spinning in circles in the previous room because it had lost enough limbs and it had kind of been knocked off balance, and it seems like its gyroscope or rotators or whatever are all off kilter. So you could potentially grab it. Are you still there, Chris? All right, so I'm going to say he does, that he grabs it, brings it back in, and you guys figure, all right, you probably now potentially have a power source. If you need one, you can bring it back to the priest. And as far as you know, this image seems to be some way out of this pyramid. You don't know what it does or how it will get you out of this pyramid, but according to Paco, it should get you out.
Now, this medical device that we had turned on was boring a hole through the floor.
Yeah, he turned it off, though. Paco
If we
did.
turned it back on, would it continue burrowing?
Yep, potentially.
No, it's probably not a good idea.
No way.
Okay. So Paco, how are we gonna get out of here? I can hear my stomach growling.
You operate the device. I think you stand in the device, operate it, and it takes you out. But I'm not sure.
Oh. Hop up there.
Well, this is in a different room, but yeah, potentially you could go there.
Oh. So, well, yeah, let's go find the room.
All right, you guys all gonna go? Well, except for Ken,
Okay.
who's having his eyes repaired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going.
All right.
Yep.
I walk over to the door. I put my hand over to the door seal. I look over at Ken. I shake my head, and I proceed to go find this room.
Nice. And Nuclear, how about you? Are you gonna go with them, or are you gonna stay?
Nuclear's turn at this point. He wants to go with them to find a way out, but he also wants to stay with the blind sensei to make sure that he's protected. And he chuckles
That might be a good idea.
as he thinks of himself as the protection, because he can't protect himself. Fuck. So no, you guys go ahead. I'll stay with the blind master.
All right. Awesome. And so yeah, so you guys go ahead and you travel through a couple of rooms, not finding really much, but broken down mechanical devices and whatever, the normal decay that you're finding. And finally you make it into this room, and as you can see, it all around is kind of broken down, but then you have this device glowing, the one before you, and you see a computer terminal near it, and as you get closer to it, Paco, you realize that on the display screen of the device are those same symbols that are on the floor, and it looks like there are like 4 little boxes, and so you're kind of ascertaining, okay, you would have to put 4 symbols that you want into these 4 boxes, and that will potentially have some sort of effect on this device, but you don't quite know what that is. You can attempt an intellect test if you want to figure out sort of what those symbols are.
Paco, I see the gears turning in your head. What are you thinking?
This is an old-time device for transportation, and I think these symbols represent different places it can move you to, or something like that. I'm not sure. But if I'm able to figure out what the symbols mean, I might have a better idea. But
I walk over to where the symbols
So
are.
let
I
me
run my finger down them.
Do you really think you can solve this puzzle?
maybe if you stop talking so much.
Oh snap!
You see, you see Ogden lower his head.
I'm sorry. I'll let the man do his job.
And I will step back and let the man do his job.
Awesome. All right, so this is a very complicated
You-
device.
No. Okay.
And so what would happen is this would be a fairly challenging task. So I'm going to say that base difficulty, this would be a 5 to try to figure out really anything about these symbols. But because you're trained into the Numenera, again, it'll reduce it to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I'll use
with
some
that,
effort as well.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, that'll bring it down to a demanding task of 3, so your target number would be 9.
Okay. $16.
All right,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Is this
Yeah.
weird?
So you're kind of accessing different areas within this computer device, trying to figure out what these symbols are, and you realize that these symbols represent different devices similar to this one. And what you need to do is you need to activate, essentially, the one symbol represents this one, and then there are 3 other symbols that would activate sort of a triangulation point. But you're also getting the impression, some of these symbols you can recognize. You've seen these symbols on the different enclaves of the Aeon priests in different parts of the Steadfast. But some are completely foreign to you. You don't recognize them, and some look completely alien altogether. You've never seen a symbol like this. So you would not be able to necessarily get yourself to a known location using this device, but you could definitely get yourself somewhere within the continent. You're fairly confident by using this particular device.
Paco,
Oh,
what do
I
you got
explained
that
this
look on
to
your
the
face?
others. The good news and the bad news. The good news is I can get
shit.
us out of the pyramid. The bad news is I'm not too
and you
sure
see,
where we
Ogden.
end up.
Ogden looks down at his boots, spits, runs his heel through the spit.
Well, that's just our luck. What do we need to do?
I think I have the information I need to operate it.
Yeah, and so you would be able to figure out that you could put yourself somewhere, again, on the continent by lining up 4 symbols that you recognize, but you don't know what would happen and where you would end
So
up.
he tells me that he can take me somewhere on the continent.
Yep.
I look at him. I walk over to him. I put my hands on his shoulder. I look him in the eye.
You're telling me we could end up in the air, in a lake, inside of a tree, in a rock, in a mountain? You have no idea where you're taking us? My God.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, okay then.
Or you can stay in the pyramid.
No, we don't even have any supplies. We didn't bring any food.
All right.
Okay.
So
What do we tell the others?
I think we wait for them. Wait for. Tell them this is the way out, and wait for Ken's eyes to be repaired, and then we all go together.
I step to your side. I crack my knuckles.
Well, I guess it's best we getting back.
flinches slightly at that. Oh,
I kind of
that's
drag
bad
my
for your
feet heading
knuckles, you know.
back. What? And I cracked my neck. I put a hand
Don't
behind
do
it and
that. I
I
don't
start
like the
rough.
sound of that.
Oh.
Ah.
Oh. I put my hands on my hips. I stared him. I heard that was an old wives' tale.
I've spoken to a lot of old wives. Okay,
Sounds like
Do we
there's a
get-
story there.
does Ken... Oh, yeah. Old wives are talkative.
So yeah,
Got
you
your finger
guys.
in a lot of pies, do you?
Nice.
Wives...
So you guys could, yeah, potentially
So we head
go
back
back to the room and and allow for the device to do its job. You realize that at this point, unless you want to search for another way out, and it's not out of the realm of possibility, by waiting for Ken to complete his mission or to complete his healing, and for you to potentially leave via this teleportation device, you're likely going to be able to bring a power device to Paco, your brother, within the time period that he requested. And also, you don't know if you'll be able to get back to the town of Codun at all. But you can use that option if you want, that teleportation device, or you can attempt to search another way out of this pyramid.
I'll have a look at the pyramid, the little pyramid again, and see if I can find another way out.
Yeah, when you do that, the only other way out that you can see on there was the same door that you came in, the one that sealed shut after the Numenera explode or the cipher explosion.
Maybe we're just gonna have to knock a hole in that.
Why not?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that. Because we just can't randomly be sent somewhere on the continent, not complete our mission, end up inside of a mountain by teleporting.
Nice. Yeah, and so
It's an interesting device, but
potentially.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say potentially exploration for another time, but yeah. So, and what you do, you kind of take the device back to the entrance, and as you do so, you start to feel the pyramid device kind of rattle and shake in your hand as you get closer and closer and closer to the entrance, and as you step into that room, it basically lifts and hovers off of your hand and kind of travels over to the door that you guys had come up through originally, and you see this light kind of shoot out from the top of the thing. It sort of went inverted, right? So its pyramid point is facing down towards the doors, and it shoots this light out. Not the little weird LED light that you saw before, but this like beam of light, and all of a sudden the door goes tss, 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 and it opens up below you. And so if you want, you can certainly wait the 3 days, but you have figured out how to activate and open that main entrance.
I smack Paco on the shoulder. You did it!
Hey. Shall I go back to my brother now and give him the present, and then come back to you with his here with some extra food, or shall we all stay together?
Now, The desert can be very dangerous. You definitely shouldn't leave alone.
Okay,
But
good idea.
I think getting supplies is a really good idea.
Well, and you know too that that sort of cart Numenera device that brought you there, it brought you there in like less than a day. So unless you were attacked, and that's certainly a possibility, you would potentially get back to the town of Codun within about a day, assuming nothing goes wrong.
We could go together. Hopefully the two of us would be enough to fend off any attackers. We can have Nuclear a look over Ken, and then by the time we got back, Ken should be almost healed. Otherwise, we're gonna starve or be dehydrated by the time this guy's. Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys haven't seemed to find. I mean, there's potential. Well, you have that device that can create water, but other than that, you haven't.
Oh,
really
that's right.
found any
Never
food.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah. But potentially
I can
you
make
would have
4
been.
quarts of water every day at noon.
Yeah, and potentially you could have brought some food. But yeah, I would say that it's at this point, you could definitely do that. If two of you, for example, were to travel back, or even three of you travel back to the town, and then you could potentially come back and get Ken. Or if Nuclear decides, screw that, I'll stay with Ken,
Yeah,
you could do that
definitely.
as well.
Depending on what Paco and Ogman want to do, I definitely Nuclear wouldn't leave Ken in this pyramid by himself. The potential also to delve farther into the Numenera of it is intriguing.
All right, awesome. So is that what you guys want to do? You'll have Og and Paco go back, take the little automaton back to the Aeon Priest, and then.
I never said I was going to give him my automaton either.
Oh, okay.
I see Nuclear holding onto the automaton like a teddy bear, a 3-year-old in bed.
Wait,
I don't think he's gonna give it to us.
who said anything about my automaton? No, I'll let it go. Definitely. Anything to speed up the process of Ken's eye repair.
Awesome. So yeah, so you do that then, and you're able to return to the village of Codun. You're able to seek out Navarin, the old Aeon priest. You bring him the device, and he's elated, he's ecstatic, and he shares with you what he believes this device will do. He says that he believes that this device is actually a device that can translate old languages, that can read old texts, and he's very excited because he believes that this will shed light into the writings of people from the previous ages, the previous worlds. He doesn't know for sure, but based on his research, that's what he thinks this will do. So he is extremely grateful, and he says, give him a couple of days. He's going to tinker with this thing. He realizes that you're not back with all of your friends, so he says when you all come back, he will make sure to reward you. This is something that is potentially going to be world changing. And so you guys return to the pyramid just in time to see Ken with a new set of ocular implants, looking in that regard very much like Nuclear. He can now see, even though it's somewhat electronically. and you guys are able to all leave the pyramid together if you want to. Now that's the question, though, that I'm going to leave you with is, do you want to return to the town, or do you want to potentially stay in the pyramid and see what else it holds?
I will do whatever you guys want.
I'm voting to stay.
I think at this point, Nuclear would look at Ken's new hardware, and he would feel threatened. His eye would begin to light up, and it would do so in like a beat, almost a pattern, to kind of show off like he was break dancing with his lights in front of Ken, this blind sensei. And he definitely does not want to leave the pyramid, though if the others do, he would leave.
And Paco, how about you?
Oh yeah, I'll leave.
Okay. All right, so it seems as though Ken and Nuclear wish to stay. Paco wanting to return to his brother, presumably to maybe help him with this new discovery, opts to leave. So Og, it's down to you.
Oh.
What do you want to do? Oh, go ahead.
All right. So you see Ogden, and he's like 7 years old. He's out at a swing by a creek, and the creek is actually a mechanical illusion. So as he swings over, he kind of sees it dissipate. And he's singing a song. And it's something like, new friends are great, but old friends you keep. Some are silver and some are gold. So he's going to stay with his old gold friends here in the pyramid.
Excellent. And so with that, you guys stay in this medical unit. You heal up any of your wounds, your ailments, and prepare yourselves for a couple of things. One, knowing that eventually you're going to have to secure more provisions. Not sure necessarily where you'll be able to get them, but you've already found strange and weird things in this pyramid, so who knows. And you've also discovered this device that could potentially send you anywhere. And if you could figure out more of how to use it, this could be something that could really change the world, change the face of the Ninth World. And Paco, you decide that your fate lies with your brother, with helping him complete his mission, because that's equally important. That being able to help an Aeon priest to do something of this magnitude, your name will go down in the history books. But you also realize that something like that is dangerous, and he may need your skills to keep him out of trouble, because some might be jealous, some might be worried, some might be wanting to take this power and this knowledge for their own. So what I'm going to do, Paco, why don't you go ahead and do an exit scene, and then I'm going to let each of you guys do that, and then we will be done.
So, Paco turns to his three companions and says, maybe it's just there's something about this pyramid I don't like, but you guys, well, you see better than me, maybe, now that you've got eyes. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna make lots of money with my brother, and I hope you find some money here, but I think I'm gonna make more outside. Bye-bye. and he walks off into the desert.
Awesome. And Ken, why don't you go ahead and narrate your end scene here?
At the notion, hearing Paco speak about making money and making more money with his brother, Paco flashes back to just a few days hence, recent happenings when he first met his brand new and bestest and quite only of friends, and the very first words that seemed to usher him into this journey of discovery, of this Numenera, this pyramid, of even at some point, some level of self-reflection that the path of 1,000 shins begins with but a single step. Words from his own mouth, words that were ill-informed, that led him on a path to pain before he could suffer through his own salvation. Watching Paco leave, go off into the desert to meet his brother, to make his money. Paco grins, looking at him with his brand new mechanical eyes, and nods his head. The path to 1,000 shins begins but with a few steps. And he goes to fiddling around with the various terminals within the pyramid.
Excellent. Nuclear, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, Paco leaves the pyramid, and his blind sensei has regained his sight. He feels this rejuvenation for the party, this anticipation to delve deeper into the pyramids. He recalls this room with dusty wires hanging and this huge screen and this keyboard that was malfunctional, and this room, it had this turtle-like figure and this pyramid structure that he had found, and he recalls tossing it in disgust, almost as if in giving up who he really was at that moment when he tossed that what he thought to be a cipher of the pyramid. And he recalls his dream at that moment, the realness of it, standing before that machine, the huge screen, the wires connecting into his arm and downloading the information, him being able to fight just as well as Ogden and Ken. These still hold. He still wants these. He still wants to delve deeper into the pyramid. He hopes that this is still there.
Awesome. And Og, if you want to do an outro scene as well.
Sure. I see Paco walk off into the dusty death of the desert. Later that night, I can't get the image of the desert. It keeps circling around in my pupils like some kind of sandstorm. I close my eyes. I start to have the dream again. Before me is a silver chalice with moonstones, and I see black water rippling, and I'm at the bar. I flick the gold coin. The girl catches it. Her beautiful white hand smacks down. I look up. Long blonde hair, blue eyes, charming smile. She flicks the coin back. I see the sun. Then, moving through the sky, the black pyramid, like a pupil, forms over top of it. And as it zooms in, I see the face of the woman, and I'm back at the bar. But this time, I hear the voice say, "My name's Camissa. It's nice to meet you. Who are you?" And that's where it cuts.
Nice. And you guys, yeah, everything fades off as you guys kind of start to contemplate what the future might hold, what possible discoveries you might find. And so with that, I'll end it here. I want to thank everybody, for playing. This was really fun. I'm really loving Numenera, so thank you guys, and we will certainly do this again. So I will end the broadcast. Have a good night, everyone.